My experience in Subharti University was so good. I've enjoyed a lot. I've done so much fun here and I've learned a lot from here.
The experience in Subharti University has been incredibly amazing for me, and hence I would say that Subharti is the best.
It's like a small island in a city, and you should totally come here if you are pursuing anything.
The experience of Subharti has been always wonderful. यहाँ रहना, यहाँ पे लोगों से बातें करना, टीचर से थोड़ा थोड़ा एक्सपीरियंस लेना और उनकी कभी कभी डांट सुनना.
जीत की खातिर बस जुनून चाहिए, जिसमें उबाल हो ऐसा खून चाहिए. यह आसमां भी आएगा जमीन पर, बस इरादों में जीत की गूंज चाहिए. Jai Hind and a hearty welcome to one and all. Today, I, Shrishti Bharadwaj, student convener of Unmukt Association and your host for the day. I feel honored to welcome you all to the 8th National Debate jointly organized by Unmukt Association and Literary Club Subharti Law College in association with Unmukt Bharat. And the topic for today's debate is G20 Presidency will transform India's image globally. Today, I take this privilege to introduce Swami Vivekanand Subharti University, which has been established under the aegis of Mahayana, Theravada, Vajrayana, Buddhist religious and charitable trust. The university has several colleges which provide higher education in almost all disciplines like law, medicine, dental, nursing, paramedical, Buddhist studies, etc. The university has been accorded grade A by National Assessment and Accreditation Council in 2022. The organizing college, Sardar Patel Subharti Institute of Law, is one of the constituent colleges of the university. Subharti Law College was established in the year 2002. It is one of the top colleges of the law in the state of Uttar Pradesh and established in the memory of Sardar Patel, first Home Minister, first Deputy Prime Minister, an eminent lawyer and the Iron Man of India. The college is ranked 7th in the Eminent Law School by Competition Success Review (CSR) in June 2020. It is also awarded the Best Emerging Law College Award at the 3rd National Symposium and Awards on 13th October 2019, jointly organized by Ishwar Saran Postgraduate College, University of Allahabad, Prayagraj. Ranked in top 25 colleges in law story of Aspire India Today 2018, received Best Academic Curriculum Award supported by Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Youth for Human Rights and Digital School of Law in Legal Desires Summit and Award 2018. In GHRDC Law School Survey 2018, we scored first rank in the category of excellence and 4th rank in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Today, our college is associating with Unmukt Bharat, which is a non-political organization aiming for an ideal nation. Unmukt Bharat is an association of nationalists and individuals who realize their duty and incline to work for betterment of the nation. Unite those who are vigilant towards their responsibilities towards the society and beloved Mother India. And the mission is to enable people to take responsibility for the nation building and so motivate them to seek resolution through individual and collective action, thereby enabling them to realize their full potential, to make people discover their potential for action and change, to enable people's collectives and movements encompassing diverse segments, to pledge their particular strengths, working in partnership to secure, protect, and honor their human rights and fundamental rights as provided by Constitution of India. Ladies and gentlemen, before moving further, I would like to introduce you all to the panel of today's judges, Ms. Anshu Tyagi and Dr. Rafat Khanam. Ms. Anshu Tyagi has completed her graduation and post-graduation from Meerut University, Meerut. Ma'am joined as a magistrate in Delhi and now working as an ombudsman of the Meerut division, that is 6 districts. She also deals with the cases of corruption against the government officials. She has also got many certificates from different ministries of government like Government of India, like Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, and the Ministry of Law and Justice, etc. Ma'am's specialization is in mercantile law, immigration law, trademark law, mediation, etc. And the second judge for today's event is Dr. Rafat Khanam. Dr. Rafat Khanam is PhD in English, MBA in HR and Finance. She has total of 18 years experience of teaching English to graduate and postgraduate students. Ma'am has been working as an associate professor in the Department of Language at Swami Vivekanand Subharti University since the last 8 years. She has worked as an associate professor and lecturer in different universities. She has been a member of International Association of Engineers since 2017. She has been awarded Shikshak Shiromani Award in 2022 and Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan Teacher Award in 2023 by Samaj Vikas Sansthan, an NGO which is working for sustainable development in India. She received a certificate of achievement from Google Digital Unblock. She has published 11 national and international articles in peer-reviewed journals with high impact factors. Ma'am has presented more than 40 papers at national and international conferences. Now, I would like to request the faculty convener of the Moot Court Association, Mrs. Afrin Almas, to kindly address the gathering.
Jai Hind, one and all. As we have the theme based on G20, I would like to put little light on the theme of today. The group of these 20 or the G20 is a premium forum for international cooperation on the most important aspect of international economic and financial agenda. It brings together the world's major advanced and emerging economies. The G20 comprises of the countries like Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, EU, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Japan, and many other countries. The G20 countries together represents about 90% of the global GDP, 80% of the global trade, and the two-thirds of the world population. The objective of G20 are there are three major objectives. The first one is policy coordination between its members in order to achieve global economic stability and sustainable growth. The second objective was to promote financial regulations that reduce risk and prevent future financial crises. And the last objective was to create a new international financial architecture. If we look at this, then we also see that G20 was created in response to the financial crisis that arose in a number of emerging economies in the year 1990s. And to a growing recognition, these countries got together so that they can discuss a global economic discussions and governance and help out the world in overall growth. For this, the purpose of this respective theme was to have the compendium of research from both sides, which the participants of today will be presenting, and that would help us, and in fact the parliamentarians, to put the growth, national growth of the country. With this objective, we have tried to keep this debate based on this theme. As you know that currently India is having a G20 presidency, your perspective, your research will help the country grow more better. So with that objective, we have organized this national debate. Hopefully it will be fruitful. And with that note, I would like to welcome all the participants across the country to put their perspective so that it helps the India grow better. With that note, I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for his address. If we look that the Major General Dr. G.K. Thaplyal, sir, he's an Honorable Vice Chancellor of Swami Vivekanand Subharti University. He is a Major General. Dr. G.K. Thaplyal, sir, has over 40 years of experience in the armed forces and higher education. He has been conferred with various prestigious awards such as Sena Medal by the President of India and Commendation Award by the GOC INC Southern and Western Command. Lifetime Achievement Award by the Association of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons of India. He has been the head of maxillofacial team at UN Peacekeeping Mission Hospital in Cambodia, head of biomedical research team at the Institute of Nuclear Medicine and Allied Sciences, Delhi, professor and head maxillofacial wing at Armed Forces Medical College, Pune, Armed Dental Center, Research and Referral Dental Camp, and many private institutions. With that note, I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for his inaugural address.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am, for inviting me to this webinar. At this occasion, I welcome all the participants in this webinar on behalf of Swami Vivekanand Subharti University. It's a great pleasure for me to invite and speak in the beginning of this webinar, which is a very, very important topic. The G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. Yes, when we talk about India's image, so we go back into the glorious past history of India. And if we look back and see that it is the only country which still has this old civilization continuing with it, and it has the relevance. The image of India has been in the past like was the knowledge guru or the Vishwa Guru. It was a Sone ki chidiya. And all you see the avatars were born in India. Means it was the leader, a spiritual leader for all over the world. But in between, due to various reasons, the image of India got tarnished as a country of snake charmer, or the country of poor people, the country of superstitions. That was a period, the darkest period of our history. But now, once again, we are seeing the light, and we are seeing the new era where the India is emerging, and India will emerge a power, particularly in the field of knowledge and in economy too. This G20 summit, it's a great opportunity for all of us Indian to showcase our country, to showcase our image, and government is doing all out for this particular. We have been doing well, but somehow we have not been projecting it to the world. As we have been seeing, the various activities of G20 have been planned in different cities, different states, and almost all states have been involved. And all cities are showing their heritage, culture, and the strength of our people. I'm sure this webinar will throw more lights on this area and will bring many avenues. How can we showcase our strength? How can we showcase our well ethos, culture, and traditions. I thank the Faculty of Law and particularly Moot Court Association for having conceived this idea for this webinar and invited so many stalwarts to speak on during this webinars. I'm sure this will open up a new debate, and we will reach to some conclusion after this, and we will work upon that conclusion. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best and congratulate the Subharti Moot Court Association and Faculty of Law for having organized this. I wish you a great success. Thank you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed motivating. Now, before moving forward to the rules of the competition, which are adhered strictly, I'd like to request you all the speakers to kindly pay attention to the rules. For technical convenience, team has been divided into sessions. A speaker can speak either in English or in Hindi. Each speaker would be given 3.5 minutes to speak. If a speaker crosses the time limit, he or she may face deduction of marks. While presentation, if the participant is disconnected due to network problem, the only 15 to 30 seconds shall be provided to rejoin. After that, the decision of the judges shall be final in this regard. Any failure to join the respective session would lead to disqualification of the participant. And most importantly, all participants should only use the assigned alias while joining the speaker link. For example, if a participant has been assigned with alia F1, then he or she should enter as F1 only. Decision of the judges would be final and cannot be challenged. For the live session, only 8 people can be joined at a time. Hence, you should be ready for your turn. There are 2 links provided in the schedule. First is the presenting link and the second is the viewers link. And also, to keep the trace of your turn, there will be 2 warnings, one at a time of 1 minute and the second of 30 seconds. For the speaker will be displayed on the screen for winding up. Kindly pay attention to it. It is mandatory to turn on the camera while the presentation. On this side, now it's time to break the ice and begin with the first session. And the first team on the list is F1 versus A3. A3. Am I audible to you, F1?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, you may start now.
Democracy is my spirit, diplomacy is my mastery, culture is my motivation, and youth is my power. I am a new India and I am a Vishwaguru. I take this opportunity to congratulate you on the India's G20 2023. And I have appeared before you to present my views for the motion that indeed this G20 summit will increase the India's goodwill and improve India's image globally. And thus, I would like to begin my arguments. Sir, India today is the president of a group which constitutes of over 90% of global GDP. And to quote the data from the Ministry of Tourism, about 1.5 lakh foreign delegates will be traveling to India for this G20 summit. Now, this is a direct benefit and a direct increase to the tourism sector. But let me also remind you that these 1.5 lakh delegates, they're not common people. They're high-ranking delegates, high-ranking diplomats, which also bring good FDI and foreign investment into India. And thus, for the year 2024, for the first time, $35 billion FDI is to be has been projected for India. So, the G20 summit will be organized across 56 cities in India. And these cities do not only include New Delhi and Bangalore, but also include cities of Tamil Nadu, of Raipur, which comes in a tribal state of Chhattisgarh. They also include the cities of Jammu and Kashmir and that of Ladakh, which unfortunately were labeled as disputed areas. But now this G20 summit provides us with an opportunity to project our power, to project our sovereignty over Jammu and Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh by the holding G20 summit there. What is the motto and what is the theme for this G20? If we look into it, the theme is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And where does this quote come from? It comes from a book called as Mahopanishad. Thus, this is a direct proof that this G20 is not merely a show for a new India, but is also a show for India's civilizational history and heritage, wherein Indian thought of democracy and inclusiveness have been presented to the world. So today, by the G20 summit, India for the first time and at an unprecedented scale is now an adjudicator, a peace negotiator between in a white man's war of Ukraine, wherein two white countries, Russia and Ukraine, fight. India, which was in past considered to be a snake charmer's country, a third world country, a developing country, is now in the negotiation tables as an adjudicator, as a judge to bring in peace. And for India's G20 summit, for the first time, the Russian president and the American president, the leaders of the two sides, will meet in India, and that may give rise to a new peace. Thus, I would like to conclude my remarks by saying and quoting Dr. Jaishankar that India is East, India is West, India is all, and thus India is the Vishwaguru. Thus, I conclude my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, F1. Now I request A3 to kindly turn on their camera. Am I audible to you? Yes, you are audible. You may start now.
Brilliant. Okay. All right. Good morning, distinguished judges, esteemed opponents, and my dear audience. It gives me immense pleasure to address you today and present my counter arguments to the proposition that the G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. While it is undoubtedly a significant achievement for India to be appointed as the host country for the G20 summit, however, I maintain it falls short of being a transformative event for India's global image. Allow me to elucidate this point by offering a few salient examples. Consider the case of Argentina, which hosted the G20 summit in the year 2018. Despite being the second largest economy in South America, Argentina has been grappling with high inflation rate of 51.4%, the highest in 30 years, a debt crisis of 54.4 billion, and an unemployment rate of 9.6% as of 2022. The G20 presidency did not assist the countries in surmounting these challenges or help transform its image globally. Similarly, Turkey hosted the G20 summit in the year 2015. Yet it continues to face several economic challenges, including currency crisis, inflation, and political instability, which were not ameliorated by the G20 presidency. These examples highlight that hosting the G20 summit is not sufficient to transform a country's economic conditions or shape its image globally, and we must not overestimate its transformative potential for India either. The first point I wish to underscore is that a country's global image is not solely dependent on its economic condition, but also on its political stability, social welfare, and cultural diversity. India is currently grappling with numerous challenges in these areas. India's image on the global stage has been blemished by issues such as corruption, communal violence, and human rights violations. These issues are likely to persist regardless of the G20 presidency. Secondly, India's track record with implementation of economic and social reforms has been rather mixed. Despite being one of the world's fastest growing major economies, as of 2023, India ranks as low as 132 out of 191 countries in the Human Development Index and faces several challenges such as income inequality, poverty, access to education and healthcare, making it critical to promote inclusive policies that promote job creation, income growth, and access to essential services. Third of all, the G20 presidency is not a binding organization. Its resolutions are not legally enforceable. The commitment made in G20 summit are not frequently followed through, and member countries can wish to ignore them. This in turn hinders the ability of a nation to meet its goals set forward in the summit, and this failure reflects poorly on the global stage. To truly effect a change in India's standing, we must commit to a sustained and unwavering effort to confront our economic, political, and social challenges. Structural reforms are crucial, including creating a favorable environment for business and investment, improving social welfare and human development indicators, and by taking bold steps towards clean energy sources and sustainable development practices. India must prioritize creating a more tolerant and inclusive society by addressing communal tensions and human rights violations against minority groups. These efforts will position India as a prestigious and dynamic nation which values inclusivity, environmental responsibility, and social justice. In conclusion, let us not be under any illusion that the G20 presidency can single handedly transform India's global image. It is only through sustained effort in implementing
A3,
reforms
your
that
time
can
is
shape
over now.
our future as a nation and bring forward a global transformation we seek. Let us therefore focus our energies on addressing these challenges and create a brighter future for India. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, A3. Now I'd like to request F2 to kindly switch on their camera. F2. I think F2 is not there right now. So I'd like to request, with the permission of the judges, to kindly invite to 812.
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. 812.
Yes.
Am I audible to you, 812?
Yes, you are audible. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You may start now.
Okay. Good morning, honorable judges. I am A12 and I'll be speaking against the motion. The year 2022 was marked by a remarkable event known as G20, which is supposed to whitewash India's image in global arena. G20 presidency is a welcome gesture, but mere presidency is not going to transform India's image globally. Mere hosting a presidency is not going to affect the perspective that world nations hold towards India. A country's image and worth is not assessed by the number of presidencies it holds, but by the prosperity and well being of its people. A, com- uh, a common man in India is more concerned about earning a living, health, education, safety, and plethora of other issues. And India's presidency of G20 has, as of now, not done anything to alleviate these fears. And India's image is not going to transform globally unless G20 meetings percolate to the ground reality. To begin with, let us have a look at India's global ranking in various indices. It ranked 135th out of 146 in Gender Gap Index, 107 out of 121 in Hunger Index, and 126 out of 137 in Happiness Index. These indices reflect that India's position in the world order is not as good as it seems, and it is strongly contended that mere presidency is not going to address the stark gap between the leading nations and India. Furthermore, we must note that in the past years, India's presidency of UNSC and other organizations has not contributed much in, uh, in reflecting India's image in the world. Moreover, G20 presidency is merely a routine exercise and involve no expertise as such. India's presidency of G20 is simply an event that is meant to occur, and only presidency is not going to transform India's image unless we Indians strive towards perfection in every arena. Furthermore, G20 has begun to lose its charisma over the years, and it has become derailed and unfocused due to its venturing into numerous policy arenas with no actionable outcomes. It is important to not to overestimate the capacity of G20 as a grouping and uh, to recognize the uh, capacity of G20, uh, limits on the powers of G20. Will the world look dramatically different after India completes its presidency of G20? Probably not. But if India manages to solve its problems like sustainable development, inflation, corruption, data protection, etc., then we could be on the way to become a superpower and transforming the India's image globally. This is all. Thank you.
Before you leave A12, I would like to ask a question. As you discussed, do you feel that we are not accomplishing all the tasks very properly? So you say that we cannot perform, we cannot transform India properly by as a
Yes.
G20 presidency.
Yes, as I have earlier said that I would like to quote one example of this because earlier in 2008 and 2009 summits of Washington, London, and Pittsburgh, there was the focus on only one, that is on the economic transformation. So they had done really well, but after that, all the other summits like in Bali and others, it has lost its effectiveness because of wider scope of its areas in which it is working. So it is not
But
working
if we
efficiently.
talk about economic supports to all the countries during COVID-19, we've seen that India has helped a lot. So don't you feel that we have also been working for the development of the country?
Yes, I think that, but merely economy cannot be the sole factor to determine the image of a country. There are some other things, like I would like to quote one more example. In Nepal, India has been ranked on the top of the foreigners who has been arrested for a crime in Nepal. So these are also the factors which determine the image of a country. Like we must have heard that. Uh, uh, some things, when we do a bad thing, then we are judged for that, and when we do a lot of good things, we are not judged for that.
So what are your suggestions if we wish to transform India?
Uh,
What are your suggestions?
okay, I
Transform.
will suggest that. Okay, I will suggest that G20 should be limited to the development of the economy, and other organizations will work towards the other developments. In that way, I think it can manage to work in all the areas efficiently and develop its image globally.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, A12. Now, with the permission of the judges, we have F2 here. Can we proceed with the F2, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. F2, kindly switch on your mic and your camera. F2. We request F2 to kindly turn on your camera. I think there is some technical glitch with F2. Our team is coordinating with them. Now I request F3 to kindly switch on their camera. Am I audible to you, F3?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, you are. You may proceed now.
All right. Distinguished judges, esteemed opponents, and dear audience, I stand before you with great enthusiasm and conviction to speak on the topic G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. The G20 presidency holds within its ambit the power to shape the global narrative, and India's ascendance to this position has ushered in a new era of hope and promise. The question before us is whether this prestigious position will serve as a catalyst to transform India's image on the world stage, and I am here to declare with utmost confidence that it certainly will. As we all are aware, the G20 summit is a conclave of the world's leading economies, where they meet to discuss economic cooperation and decision making. However, the dividends of hosting the summit go far beyond the confines of economics. In fact, hosting the G20 can prove to be quite a pivotal moment for a country's global reputation. This is clearly exemplified by Saudi Arabia, the host of the 2020 G20 summit. Saudi Arabia's standing in the international community was mired in controversy due to concerns over human rights violations and its role in the global energy market. Nonetheless, the summit served as a podium for Saudi Arabia to present its vision for the future and exhibit its leadership in tackling global issues, giving Saudi Arabia a unique chance to highlight its affirmative attributes and establish itself as a conscientious and forward thinking member of the international fraternity. India has come a long way in the last few decades. However, Despite all of these achievements, India's image on the global stage has often been marred by negative perceptions by being viewed in a developing nation, plagued by poverty, corruption, and social inequality. This platform can showcase India's economic potential and its position as a progressive and dynamic nation. The first point I wish to underscore is that this is a global opportunity for India to increase its international visibility and influence. India will be at the center of global attention, and its views and policies will be closely watched by the rest of the world, helping India in raising its profile on the world stage and increase its influence in international affairs. The G20 presidency can also provide an opportunity for India to strengthen its ties with the countries and build new alliances. Secondly, the G20 presidency can also provide a boost to the Indian economy. The meetings will bring together leaders from some of the world's largest economies, and this can lead to increased trade and investment opportunities for India. This will in turn help to attract foreign investments, which can stimulate economic growth and create jobs. Thirdly, India will have to navigate complex diplomatic negotiations and build consensus among a diverse group of countries. This can help to enhance India's diplomatic skills and provide valuable experience for future international negotiations. Finally, the G20 can provide an opportunity for India to leave a lasting legacy. India can use this opportunity to advance its own economic and strategic interests while also promoting global cooperation and stability. By leaving a positive legacy, India can enhance its reputation as a responsible and influential global leader. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great conviction that I assert that the G20 presidency provides a rare opening for India to revamp its image on the international stage. The ripple effects of this event transcends borders and impacts the global community's perception of India, enabling them to gain a deeper appreciation of its unique strengths and contributions to global development. As the world eagerly watches, we remain optimistic that India will seize this momentous opportunity and elevate the G20 summit to an unprecedented success, leaving a lasting impression on the world stage and guiding global cooperation for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, F3. Now, with the permission of the judges, we have F2 here. So, maybe start with F2. Thank you, ma'am. Kindly switch on your camera, F2. F2, we request you to kindly switch on your camera and your mic. We'll give the last opportunity to F2, but I think there is some technical glitch. I think F2 is there. Okay, so now we'll move forward with A16.
Am I visible and audible?
Yes, you are. You may start now.
Thank you. Narratives play a critical role in construction of political behavior, affecting our perception of political reality, which in turn affects our actions in response to such events. We create and use narratives to interpret and understand the political realities around us. We do this as individuals and we do this as collective groups, as groups and as nations. A very good morning to everyone. I'm thankful for being provided this opportunity to present my case against the motion today. I do not share the fervent enthusiasm or other misdirected optimism of my friends who have argued today in favor, as I firmly believe that the narrative that comes with the G20 presidency is not enough to transform India's image globally. And this is not because we lack potential, but because of lack of tools and further limited utilization of the existing ones. While my friends have provided you with examples of many countries who have held past presidencies with both a positive outcome and a negative outcome, with the 3 minutes provided to me, I would put forward three arguments to convince you of my position. First, I would like to start with soft power. Soft power is choosing attraction over coercion to influence the global opinion so as to swing it in your favor. While it is one of the crucial methods in diplomacy today, it has little substantial standing of its own. Hollywood and Oscars have credibility and reverence because USA has established itself as a legitimate global power backed by a liberal economy, democratic ethics, and one of the biggest military forces in the world today. Closer to home, the Chinese elephantine economy is backing its soft power crusade comprising of COVID diplomacy, the Belt and Road Initiative, and the proliferation of Confucianism. India, however, seems perplexed when it comes to forming a coherent strategy of soft power warfare. Albeit the magic of yoga, which has been accepted globally, the dream of becoming a Vishwaguru and the lack of economic and military might do not go so well together. Secondly, the narrative of India being the leader of Global South. The Indian approach towards the Global South not only looks like the country cloaking itself in a veil of idealism and lofty words to duck the pressure of Ukraine crisis, lip service and idealistic promotion of the interest of the Global South is hurting the possibility of furthering an unambiguous foreign policy goal. With the Chinese premier promoting goodwill in the region, India cannot afford to lose the opportunity by going back to Nehruvian idealism. My opponents may have also made a case for participatory diplomacy. The emphasis on Jan Bhagidari is not limited nor has just begun with this presidency. Diaspora rallies have been part of Prime Minister's visits since 2014, and there has been concerted efforts to take diplomacy away from the confines of Delhi before India assumed the presidency of this G20 forum. However, the participatory zeal surrounding G20 seems overdone for a routine affair, for something that you get on a rotational basis, making one question that whether this presidency has been positioned as a diplomatic high to achieve domestic political ends. The US and its allies have utilized every opportunity to raise the Ukraine issue, whether it was at the Quad Forum or the SEO meetings. Then why is India sitting back with the G20 presidency in various groups and clubs to further its interests with the force?
Seeing
A
your
caveat
time
is
is
that
over now.
just 10 seconds, I'll just like to close it. If the judges allow.
With the due permission of the judges. It's a discretion of the judges.
Just the sentences left, like.
Okay. Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. At the end, I'll just like to conclude by saying that there are many presidencies which await India in the future, but the real need is a substantial framework to secure the foreign policy goals without going rudderless in the vast ocean of idealism and diplomacy. Thank you.
Thank you, A16. Now I request F4 to kindly switch on their mic and your camera.
मैं पूरी तरीके से दिखाई हुआ सुनाई दे रहा हूँ.
Yes.
हेलो. एक्चुअली मुझे 2 मिनट 30 सेकंड पे आप बोल के बता दीजिएगा, क्योंकि मुझे आईज से दिखाई नहीं देता है तो मैं स्क्रीन देख नहीं पाऊंगा.
Sure.
ठीक है, 2 मिनट 30 सेकंड पे. 3, 2, 1. सदन की गरिमा को मेरा सादर नमन. विषय का पुरजोर समर्थन करते हुए अपने विचार व्यक्त करने जा रहा हूं. अध्यक्ष महोदय, 1999 में 19 देश तथा यूरोपीय यूनियन से मिला एक समूह जो कि आर्थिक मामलों में एक दूसरे की सहायता के लिए बनाया गया, जिसे हम G20 के नाम से जानते हैं. अध्यक्ष महोदय, समझने की आवश्यकता है 1999 के बाद 2023 में भारत को एक पहला ऐसा मौका मिला जब इस समूह की अध्यक्षता कर सके. और जब आप किसी समूह की अध्यक्षता करते हैं तो आप सारे उस पूरे समूह तथा पूरी दुनिया का केंद्र बिंदु बन जाते हैं. और जब आप किसी का केंद्र बिंदु बन जाते हैं और आपका ध्यान, सबका ध्यान आपकी ही ओर होता है, तो कहीं ना कहीं आपकी छवि नकारात्मक या सकारात्मक दोनों ही रूपों में दुनिया के सामने आती है और परिवर्तित होती है. अध्यक्ष महोदय, मेरा प्रतिपक्ष आता है और वह इस बात में उलझ कर रह जाता है कि इससे नकारात्मक छवि जाएगी या सकारात्मक छवि जाएगी, जबकि वाद विवाद इस विषय पर था ही नहीं. वाद विवाद इस विषय पर था कि छवि परिवर्तित होगी या नहीं, परंतु विपक्ष इस तरह कोई भी ऐसा तर्क देकर नहीं जाता है कि छवि परिवर्तित नहीं होगी. अभी तो अपने वक्तव्य में मानकर चला जाता है कि छवि तो परिवर्तित होगी परंतु नकारात्मक रूप में होगी. जैसे कि 2-3 देशों का उन्होंने उदाहरण भी दिया कि वहां की स्थिति ऐसी, वहां रिसेशन आया, तो कुल मिला के उस रिसेशन की छवि आपके सामने आई, वो G20 की अध्यक्षता के बाद ही आई, तभी आप बोल पाए। किसी भी व्यक्ति की छवि कैसे बनती है? जब उसे अपने आप को प्रदर्शित करने का मौका मिलता है। और कोई भी व्यक्ति या किसी भी देश के लिए प्रदर्शित करने का मौका जिस समूह में लगभग 66% दुनिया की आबादी जिस समूह से जुड़ी हो, अध्यक्ष महोदय, जिस समूह में दुनिया की 85% जीडीपी दुनिया की उस समूह के देशों के हाथ में हो, अध्यक्ष महोदय, उस समूह की अध्यक्षता करने के बाद मेरा प्रतिपक्ष कह रहा है कि छवि नहीं बदलेगी। ये कैसी निराधार बातें हैं। और तो और अध्यक्ष महोदय, उन्हें समझने की आवश्यकता है कि कोई भी व्यक्ति या बच्चा जब पैदा होता है तो उसकी छवि हमारे सामने पहले से नहीं बनी होती है। जब वह बच्चा पैदा होता है, वह कुछ हरकत करता है या उसे दुनिया देखती है, या टीवी पर कोई सितारा आता है तो दुनिया उसे देखती है, उसके बाद उसकी छवि बनती है। और छवि नकारात्मक व सकारात्मक हो सकती है। निष्कर्ष से यही कहना चाहूंगा कि छवि के लिए किसी भी व्यक्ति को मौके की आवश्यकता होती है, और वो मौका भारत को मिला है। और टाइम समाप्त हो गया है।
नहीं, अभी आपके पास 1 मिनट बचा हुआ है, आप बोल सकते हो।
हाँ, और तो और अध्यक्ष महोदय, जब भारत G20 की अध्यक्षता करेगा तो इसमें बाहर से कई सारे स्पीकर्स आएंगे, और जब कई सारे वक्ता आएंगे और वो देखेंगे कि बेंगलोर की कंपनियां भी यूनिकॉर्न बन रही हैं। और तो और अध्यक्ष महोदय, वो यहाँ की संस्कृति को, यहाँ के रहने सहने के तरीके को, यहाँ के रीति रिवाजों को, यहाँ की जलवायु परिवर्तन को, यहाँ के जो महिला सशक्तिकरण का मेन मुद्दा है, चाहे पर्यावरण का मुद्दा है, इन मुद्दों को उठाते हुए जब भारत को मुखर रूप से देखेंगे तथा यहाँ की संस्कृति सभ्यता से रूबरू होंगे और भारत को विकसित होते हुए देखेंगे, तो कहीं ना कहीं छवि परिवर्तित होगी। और अध्यक्ष महोदय, इसी के तहत एक ट्वेका समूह भी बनाया जाएगा, जिसमें 3 देश इस बार पहली बार ऐसा होगा जो कि विकासशील देश होंगे। और अध्यक्ष महोदय, भारत की छवि परिवर्तित करने के लिए बहुत है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू F4। आप अपना कैमरा व माइक बंद कर सकते हैं। Now I request A18 to kindly switch on their camera. Am I audible to you, A18?
Yeah, you are audible. Am I audible to you?
Yes, you are. You may proceed now.
Yeah, so thank you. Good morning, everyone. Judges, I'm here to speak against the motion that G20 summit is an opportunity to improve India's image. See, every event in geopolitics must be analyzed according to contemporary realities of the world, and not just by focusing on that particular event in isolation. And I feel sad to say that if there is a time when world is polarized to its peak after the Cold War era, it's now. See, after the COVID pandemic disruption, which was created by China, and the disruptions which was initiated by Russia, the divide between West and the Russia-China axis has tremendously increased. We are witnessing a time when Russia and China is aggressively promoting its expansionist policies, and America is becoming more and more irrelevant. Actually, America is becoming more and more frustrated due to its increasing irrelevancy. See, here India is presented with a scenario where even scheduling G20 meeting with full participation is considered as a great challenge in itself, let alone improving India's image. See, in this scenario, India's priorities must be to effectively navigate the geopolitical storm which she finds herself in. Actually, we must understand that G20 summit is a high-profile forum where diplomats and leaders meet to discuss issues concerning the whole world to create a non-binding consensus. And G20 is not an opportunity where countries meet to rate their food cuisines or to rate their festival, to cherish their festival. No, it's not a venue like that. Diplomats are well aware of the strength and weakness of other countries, and that quite actually that's their job. See, moreover, G20 is a forum where countries compete with each other to advance its interest while finding common ground for the same with other countries. And India's priorities should be focused on advancing its interest rather than taking the responsibility of getting some white man's approval. See, another aspect we must understand is that, as the famous saying goes, with great power comes great responsibilities. The question is that when India is presented with the opportunity of hosting G20, is India ready to take the burden of that responsibility? Recently, we have seen the experience of Indonesia in 2022, where it struggled to get a common consensus. And that's not a good image to project, to be honest. Why I'm coming up with this is because in the current geopolitical scenario, a global tussle between West and Russia. As we all know, both of these countries are important for India in its bright future. In this scenario, any action from India is perceived with a prism of prejudice, and that's why today's times are tricky for a power like India to project its strength. Let me give you an example. In 2022, India had the opportunity to be elected as the president of United Nations Security Council. And the situation was such that India had to abstain from voting on most of the resolutions which was brought up by United Nations Security Council. Even India abstained to vote against a military coup in Myanmar. Can you imagine that? To be honest, this is not an image of a superpower nation we are projecting here. The image being projected is of a country who is scared to take a stand on important issues of global concern. The same is happening in the context of G20 meeting, where it is getting increasingly difficult for India to bring in a consensus, while China is brokering peace with Iran and Saudi Arabia. So let me say it again, G20 presidency should not be a venue to India to put on its
A18, your time is over now.
Okay, fine. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
I would like to bring to the notice of the judges that F5 and A22 is absent. So we'll move forward with F6. F6, please turn it on.
A warm good morning to everyone present here. I am here to speak in favor of the topic G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. Yes, it is likely to have a positive impact on the India's image globally. If we look at the theme of G20 of 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, one earth, one family, one future. This affirms the value of the life and it gives us the interconnectedness between the planet Earth and its universe. And here, India is looking towards for the globally transformative actions and not on the individual or the independent level. As one of the world's fastest growing economies in the world, through the presidency, India will have the opportunity to showcase its economic, leadership, and diplomatic credentials on the world stage. Here, India is getting the benefit of visibility in the international arena. When the world is looking towards India, India is having the opportunity to put forth its views in front of the world. And the poorer countries who do not have any opportunity to put forth their views are looking towards India to put forth their views on behalf of them. Here, it will further consolidate the India's position as a key player in the global affairs. When there is such international organizations, presidencies, and several meetings were to be held, a new infrastructure is created, which ultimately leads to the betterment of the employment opportunities. And here, India will also have the opportunity to showcase its strength, such as technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. As we all know that India is a home to the world's most innovative companies. So India can highlight its strengths and promote the greater collaborations and partnerships in these areas among the world countries, and particularly in the Asia Pacific regions. This can help the India to build this trust and understanding between the India and its neighboring countries, and it enhances the country's standing in the region. And India will also have the opportunity to showcase its economic potential to the world. This can help the India to strengthen its foreign investment and boost trade and create the career opportunities, which all of which can contribute to the India's image as dynamic and fastest growing economies in the world. And India will also have the opportunity to showcase its cultural heritage to the world, which will help the India to attract the tourism and education and cultural exchange. Yes, India's G20 presidency in 2023 could have a positive impact on its image globally, but it will require a careful planning, effective execution, and strong leadership to capitalize on this opportunity. Thank you for providing me this opportunity.
F6, before you leave, I would like to ask a question to you.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
You've discussed about the opportunities. Would you throw light on the challenges we would face during the G20 presidency?
Yes, ma'am. See, when we're putting the views in front of the world, obviously we'll have to face the challenges also. So here we are not only putting the India's views in front of the world, but we are taking the poorer countries' views also. So here we are representing the whole we are representing the least developing countries also. So here in this way we will also face the challenges. And yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, F6. Now we have A11. Am I audible to you, A11?
Yes. Am I audible and visible properly?
Yes, you are. You may proceed now.
Okay. Namaskar. A very good morning to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Pro Vice Chancellor, Faculty of Law, jury members, professors, all the participants, coordinators, and viewers. Our today's topic of discussion is G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. And I'm going to present my views against the motion. Well, a country's image cannot be changed by a global summit, but it can be changed by its own status and its own work in its own country. One, whether its own citizens have food, clothes, or shelter or not. As per the data, in India, almost 228.9 million people are still under poverty. Its children are able to afford and are having quality of education or not. In India, the quality of education is still not good for the poor class people. And how its own economy is performing. India is facing a high inflation right now. Last year, that is consumer price index hit the highest of 7.79% in April, and wholesale price index reached 15.88% in May 2022. And how a country's own climate is. India is having so many countries who are highest polluted countries in the world, and a lot of uh, its cities are under deforestation. In short, uh, I might say that a summit might have discussions, meetings, but a country's image can be changed by its own efforts in its own country. I like to ask a simple question to all of you, all the viewers, that what change in the image of Indonesia happened in your mind when last year the summit was conducted there? Or if next to next year China conducts a global summit G20 in their country, what change would happen in your mind about China? What change in their image would happen? The change will only happen when they change their behavior towards the world, when they change their own rules and regulation towards their people, when they work for the favor of their people. Well, this year, the main key points of G20 summits are: one, green development, climate finance, and life; two, accelerated, inclusive, and resilient growth; three, accelerating progress on SDG; four, technological transformation and digital public infrastructure; five, multilateral institution for the 21st century; six, women-led development. All of these are great discussions and opportunity to be discussed on a global platform and with global leaders. But the point is, whether these are legally binding or not. No, because the agreement which is signed is not legally binding to all the members, and they have to just sign it, and there is no effectiveness. They have to. There is no binding on them, and it is their own choice. They have to follow it, or they don't have to do it. For instance, I like to take an example. According to CBDR, G20 nation has to contribute almost $100 billion for the climate change, but now there has been no action taken on that by till date. Secondly, uh, G20 nations have failed to maintain global health. I'll cite an example of COVID vaccine. G20 nation has produced highest amount of vaccines in last during COVID, but only 1% of vaccines were given to low income nations. Thirdly, I like to highlight the fact that one of the favor speakers spoke that India is giving a negotiation opportunity to Ukraine and Russia, but India has denied that opportunity to Ukraine to be a part of this discussion, and this has impacted our image globally a lot in a negative sense. And to conclude, I want to say that we are going to spend thousands of crores of money over the summit and propose
A11, your time is
solutions.
over now.
I'll just take 10 seconds to conclude if the judges may allow. May I?
Please try to over it in a minute, please. In a second, please.
Yes,
2
ma'am.
seconds.
As Mahatma Gandhi said, to change the world, to see the change you want to see in the world, be the change. So, to maintain our its own image, to change our own image globally, what we have to do is we have to promote education here, women empowerment in our own country, to work over our own economics and take that then globally. It would not change our image highly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, A11. Now we'll move forward with F7. F7, kindly switch on your camera and your mic.
Yes, am I audible properly?
Yes, you are. You may proceed now.
Okay. December 1st, 2022 was a red letter day as India assumed the G20 presidency or the group of major economies of the world. Why the G20 is so important? That's because it represents 60% of the world population, 75% of the global trade, and 85% of the global GDP. Let's see how G20 presidency will transform India's image. India's theme of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is one earth, one family, and one future, reflects the task of bringing it together and uniting the world in a manner that enables peace and development. Its logo reflects India's pro planet approach for life. The earth with lotus reflects growth amid challenges. There are going to be something like 200 meetings held across 56 different locations in the country. This would have an opportunity for G20 delegates to have a glimpse of India's rich cultural heritage, that is, yoga, meditation, Ayurveda, etc. This will promote India as a tourism country. They will also get to witness India's various festivals that held across the country, like Kite Festival in Ahmedabad and Sand Art in Odisha. They will also get to witness our digital payment revolution. At recently in Udaipur meeting, all the international dignitaries made payment with UPI. They get to know how simple it is. This will help UPI to reach international. India, for the first time, has started Startup G20 engagement group. At this crucial time, India has feel and recognized the importance of startup, and this will grow internationally. And India is also at the center of the troika, that is Indonesia, India, and Brazil. All of three are emerging economies in the world. This would have a chance for India to bridge the gap between global south and west. Don't we know how West shows India's image globally? When there is always a negative news about any country, there is a global perception that nothing good can happen in that country. But the truth is, we are making huge leaps in the green energy, and our fintech is the most advanced in the world. There can't be a better platform to demonstrate India's power than G20 presidency. Through G20 presidency, we can show the world that we are not only a big market, but also a competitive force which can shake the world. 2022 has changed global order because of COVID pandemic, Russia-Ukraine war. A lot of issue has came into light. PM Modi in September 2022 firmly said to Russian president that this is not the era of war. This view has widely accepted by the West media and the West countries have appreciated. And this, I just want to conclude here. This presidency is the presidency of hope. We have a chance to change India's image globally. India has a very good chance to share our story to the world and talk about equitable solutions. This is a chance that we should forget all our about differences and come together and give world a peaceful message. Thank you so much.
Thank you, F7. Now the next is A2. A2, I request you to kindly switch on your camera. Am I audible to you, A2?
Yes, you are. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are. You may proceed now.
Okay, thank you. Namaskar and good morning to all the judges. So, I'll be speaking against this topic, Vasudhaiva Kutumba Bhava, which means one earth, one family, and one future. This was the theme of G20 summit in India, and I strongly believe in it. But is the execution of this phrase really applicable in India? The preparation for the G20 summit was miraculously amazing. Talking about the travel route of the G20 delegates followed followed. Every wall was repainted, which earlier used to be all covered in spit marks. Broken dividers were remade. The broken the pit holes, which were covered, which were the pit holes were covered, because of which the past 2 years that rate has increased immensely, specifically in Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, because of specific mainly in the rainy season. Is India trying to pretend a fake image in front?
A2, sorry for the interruption,
Yes.
but your video is still, it has been freezed. So kindly switch off your camera and then switch on your camera.
Is it now?
Yes, it is okay now. You may
Yeah.
proceed now.
Thank you. Is India trying to pretend a fake image in front of other countries, in front of the G20 delegates that have come from abroad? G20 has always promoted hegemony and is led by Western organization, whereas a country like India has always believed and followed in self-reliance and self-governance, which is which is for by the people and for the people. Hosting a G20 summit is not going to lead to a transformation. As we know, transformation is a long-term process, and a country like India's image on a global standard is going to take years. Hosting an event will take hosting an event will lead to slow incremental changes in India's image globally, but it won't change the image drastically in the global aspect. Assumption of the G20's presidency is a nominal title position, that it merely administrative and the structural in nature, assuming this title will not play any significant impact on forwarding India's interest on a global world, as G20 is a collective of first world countries and emphasis on the first world problems only. Issues like climate change, climatic conditions, gender-biased issues are still now not are still have been ignored by them. We must understand these issues also play a crucial part and a significant role. The alternative solution for these problems is to focus on soft powers rather than hard powers. A solid example can be given from the former president of the United States of America, Barack Obama. Very focused on soft powers, whereas in India, there's a difference. Whereas in India, there is a need to use smart power rather than just only soft power, not just in international relations, but also to look into the root cause issues that the public is suffering with. Let me name a few examples. India has surpassed China's population this year, and there is already a scarcity of jobs in India that the population of India is already suffering with. How are we going to overcome this problem? Remember that it's a national issue. Right now, we need to focus on more on issues arising within India, and hopefully we will be able to overcome these issues together as one. Thank you.
Thank you, A2.
Yeah.
Now I request F8 to kindly switch on their camera.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You may start now.
A very good morning, one and all. I am here to present for the motion. G20 has sent a strong message of peace and harmony, without which generation next will not be able to take benefit of economic growth of technological innovation. Hope and harmony, peace and stability are significant ideas that will continue at outline India's presidency of G20 grouping of the world's most advanced and emerging economy. G20 afford India as the world's most fifth largest economy and an excellent opportunity to form a world opinion when there is a widespread polarization and escalation of geopolitical rigidity. India will tirelessly to advance peace and stability and state prosperity in fragmented world. As an economic consideration, the G20 membership of 19 countries, that is US, Argentina, Brazil, Australia, Canada, Mexico, Turkey, Indonesia, South Korea, Japan, China, Germany, Britain, India, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Italy, France. In addition, European Union, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, International Monetary and Financial Committee, and the Development Committee, the Minister of Finance and the government of Central Bank would be for the part of G20. The, the view that appeared at the time was important of middle income countries and those which is systematic economic influence to be included in the discussion and to find solution to global economic problem. This group has a strategic position as jointly account for 65% of world population, 79% of global trade, 85% of world economy. Various G20 meeting will discuss the following challenges: economic growth, finance, trade, infrastructure, investment, energy, employment, corruption, development, agriculture, technology, and innovation. The spirit of G20 chairman is manifested in the theme of one earth, one family, one future. In the ancient Sanskrit, Vasudev Kundakam, the logo encompasses the building to lotus and its seven petal, clasping the globe affirmation on the fundamental value of lotus and its seven petals, clasping affirmation of the fundamental value of all life, such as human, animal, plant, and microorganism, and their interrelation on the planet Earth and broader universe. The India considered its G20 presidency a medium of change and world transformation, and this era of multidimensional crisis, food, energy, security with the global conflict, jeopardizing the life of ordinary people. India harnessed its G20 presidency to reach constructive solution and various challenges like reviving global growth, more decisive climate action, and robust global health architecture, endorsing food and nutrition will be essential as pandemic has happened million of people in poverty, accelerating the sustainable development goal and leading the world to adopt eco-friendly sustainability life through. Thank you.
Thank you, F8. Now, with the due permission of the judges, can we take a chance, give a chance to F2? There was some technical glitch at that time.
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
So thank you, Jyoti. A very good morning to respected judges and one and all present here. Today, the motion is G20 presidency will transform India's image globally, and I am going to speak for the motion. Starting with a count of three, three, two, one. Firstly, I wish to elucidate some of the important keywords here. First is the G20. G20 here refers to a grouping of 20 countries and serves as the forum for international and economic cooperation. And moreover, it encompasses about two-thirds of the world population, 90% of the global GDP, and 80% of the global trade. And whenever I put forward the contention about the India's image, I'll put forth the India's standing on the global footprint on basically two premises. First is the digital democracy and inclusivity, and second was the political amendments. So moving further, how it will transform India's image? The first question before us is how it will transform India's image. So my first submission for the same is the political developments, political change. With the motto of the Vasudeva Kutumbakam, India has embarked on the year-long journey of G20 presidency. Year-long journey of G20 presidency, wherein the entire focus of the world is on India only. And this is the first time that the interest of the global south would be given the paramount importance in a manner where the equitable and inclusive development would take place. How India is going to play a role here. India is acting as a bridge between the global north and the global south. And thus the India is said to be the bridge, this type of bridge. And moreover, India is going to navigate a way through the Russian-Ukraine war, US-China type Cold War, and wherein India is in a position to talk to the Russia, to talk to the US as it already in a COVID grouping. And thus, India is also a part of various multilateral platforms and various managemental systems and various trade unions. So now India is in an influential position where she can divert, where she can make these countries to come on a board. And we can say that India can provide a leadership through the G20 platform and apply its human-centric as well as the pragmatic solution for the problem. And my second submission is the digital democracy and inclusivity. The 21st century is an era of internet, where from public delivery system to defense and space technology, everything is revolving around the internet and the digital infrastructure. Hence, the cyber technology and the data uses, and the data usage plays a very crucial role in categorizing a particular country's global perception. Locus of power, as we can say, check now that the locus of power is shifting. Somewhere this locus of power is shifting from the hand of the government to the tech giants. And the lack of cyber-based infrastructure is creating hurdles not only between the masses but now between the countries. And now India is moving further in developing an inclusive roadmap for these countries, which is devoid of any groupism. How India could do this? As we are already aware that India has attained an unparalleled success in field of public infrastructure development, like the case of the Aadhaar, MPI, UPI, United User Interface. Moreover, the development of the COVID portal, this all is the development of India, and this is the low cost and protocols which are based on the consent-based data sharing. And these protocols, moreover, enhance the inclusivity and contain the digital divide. And the India is trying to increase the interoperability of the e-commerce sector by democratizing it through the open network for digital commerce. And so, at last, I can say that the world, if the world is the ship and the coming water will be of
Time is
digital revolution, then the captain must be the India. I'll just need 10 more seconds to conclude, if the judges would permit me. With the permission of the honorable, if the judges permit me.
Please end.
Just 10 more seconds.
Please
Yeah,
end.
thank you, Judge. So, the picture is very much clear that the G20 presidency will transform India's image and its global perception in terms of the political balances, public digital interface, climate change, gender gap, and there are various moves. In the furtherance of this, the India has even a potential to move this G20 forward in the direction of following an inclusive approach to support the weaker nation also. Thank you. Are there any questions for the speaker judges?
Thank you, F2. Now, I would like to thank all the participants of the first session, and it is bring to the note. I would like to bring to the notice of the judges that we'll take 5 minutes break, and then we'll rejoin for the second session.
My experience in Subharti University was so good. I've enjoyed a lot. I've done so much.
Now we are back after the break. Now I request F9 to kindly switch on their camera. Am I audible to you, F9?
Yes, ma'am.
You may start now.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm from the team code F9, and I'm in the favor of the topic that G20 will transform the India's image globally. India has taken the presidency of the G20, and it is based on the motto that is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, one Earth, one future, and one family, and which underscores how these worlds are interconnected. India's presidency can be considered as a pivotal moment in its international standing, and India has a vital role to play in a global challenges from economic sluggishness to regional strife. So good to see India using the phrases like "Let us join together" to make this presidency about harmony, hope, and healings. There is no doubt that growing polarization and clashes of ideologies can be overcome through the lasting appeal of so many spiritual tradition, and that educate the fundamental oneness of us and all, as PM Narendra Modi puts it. And it does not reflect about the idealism, but also about the genuineness. One of the most important question that arises here, that is G20 presidency provides an opportunity to showcase India a leadership. So G20 is considered as a for the world medium of change for the world, and in this era of multidimensional crisis. Here multidimensional crisis means that is food and insecurity and energy insecurity, these all the things. And second thing, one of the most important, that we have caused the world is caused in a conflict jeopardizing the ordinary lives of the people, and India harnessed the G20 presidency by providing the constructive solutions for this various challenges, like reducing the increasing the global health. And the second thing is most decisive climate financing programs can be taken, and third is reboosting the global health architecture. So as we move forward, G20 is considered as a chance for one of the most important thing, that it considers as a chance to show India that they have a largest democracy, they have a glory, they have the diversity. And second thing is that it provides an opportunity for India to show that they have the new heights of excellence in different fields, that is economic progress in different way, in different types of fields. First thing is in the way of the space and innovations in the startups. So what are the thematic priorities of this G20? The first thing is that technological transformation, digital public institution. Second thing is that accelerating the SDGs, that is sustainable development goals. Sustainable development means development that meet the needs of the future generation without harming the present generation. Third thing is that acceleration, and fourth thing that women-led management. Fifth, one of the most important thing, that is the three Fs: food, fuel, and energy. At last, how this can be furnished? These objectives can be furnished by providing actionable norms and priorities. Second thing is that advocacy campaigns, and third thing is that this can be achieved by using one of the best thing, that is grounds, proper grounds to solve the climate financing problems. That's all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, F9. Now I request A1 to kindly switch on their camera.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You may start now.
Good morning, one and all present here. I am here to present my point of views against the motion. Of course, actions speak more louder than words, and inaction speak louder than both of them. India is not in a stage to represent itself as a global power, as in itself it is facing a lot of problems and has tremendous problems that is being faced by its citizens. Just by showing off, it can't represent itself as a global power. Just for an example, India in the global hunger index has been ranked 107 out of the 121 countries, and which means that India comes under the most hunger country in the world. And as in World Happiness Report, it has ranked 126 out of 136 countries. With these reports, we can consider that India is now is in itself is not that much happy. It is corrupted country. It is a country with external as well as internal aggression. Now, in this stage, India is not at all ready to represent itself as a global power. Also, in instance of one event, the image of India as a corrupted country, as a poorest country, will not change just because of one event within 1 year. And the truth is harsh, but India is now facing economic problems and everything. And India has set the agenda, which are as same as the agenda which has been set by the Indonesia. Just for an example, Indonesia has also set the agenda of digital transformation and green energy transition, which has also been said by the India now. So for being the power for improving the image, you should be something very extraordinary. So there is nothing extraordinary in what India has said now. Also, the theme of the India is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, one future, one family, and one family. Here in India, we have been set a lot of agenda regarding Ukraine-Russia war, and we have seen that India has not taken a single stance where India has proved itself as a family for Ukraine. If Ukraine has helped a lot for our students, but India at the same time has not helped Ukraine, as we have seen that. In UNSC, and in any meeting, India has abstained and not taken the favor of Ukraine, which is definitely an example of talking too much but not doing anything. And India, the presidency has set 200 meetings in which there is no representation of the small state, which means that India as a one family doesn't stand. It has just shown various big cities and set the meetings there, which means that India should do, India is not representing itself as a one and a whole country. Also, for India to become the global power, it also needs to not only. Thank you.
Now, I would like to request F10.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You will start now.
Okay, thank you. वासुदेव कुटुंबकम, एक धरती, एक परिवार, एक भविष्य। माननीय जजेस एवं माननीय अध्यक्ष, मैं इस विषय G20 की अध्यक्षता विश्व स्तर की भारत की छवि के पक्ष में हूँ। भू राजनीति और वैश्विक आर्थिक प्रवाहों के बीच एक जुड़ावों का इनकार नहीं किया जा सकता। साथ ही जलवायु परिवर्तन के वैश्विक प्रभावों का झुटलाया नहीं जा सकता। माननीय G20 द ग्रुप ऑफ 20 अंतर्राष्ट्रीय आर्थिक सहयोग के निर्णय लेने का एक प्रमुख मंच है। यह दुनिया की 85 अर्थव्यवस्था का प्रतिनिधित्व करता है और इसमें अर्जेंटीना, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ब्राजील, कनाडा, चीन, फ्रांस, जर्मनी, भारत जैसे कई देश शामिल हैं। G20 जैसे किसी भी प्रतिष्ठित समूह का अध्यक्षता भारत के वैश्विक राजनीति का कूटनीतिक कर देता है। हम केवल ऊंचे मंच पर नहीं माननीय, हम ऊंचे उस मेज पे अध्यक्षता कर रहे हैं। इसलिए भारत को अंतर्राष्ट्रीय प्राथमिकता और नैरेटिव के आकार से देने का एक दुर्लभ अवसर मिलता है माननीय, और इसका लाभ देश की जनता को आने वाले समय में मिलेगा। भारत सबसे बड़ा लोकतंत्र नहीं, लोकतंत्र की जननी है। इसलिए जब लोग आते हैं और खुद को देखते हैं कि 1.4% अरब लोगों की देश आबादी वाले देश लोकतंत्र कैसे फल फूल रहा है, तो वे उस उभरते हुए देश के भविष्य का जबरदस्त संतुष्टि और विश्वास के साथ वापस जाते हैं। इसमें जमीनी और स्तर पर सही देशों का लाभ होता है माननीय। इसके ग्लोबल प्रोफाइल को बढ़ावा देना है। भारत एक उभरती हुई अर्थव्यवस्था है और एक संपन्न स्टार्टअप संस्कृति के साथ एक उभरता हुई शक्ति। G20 के मेजबानी के भारत में अपनी आर्थिक राजनीतिक उपलब्धियों का दुनिया के सामने प्रदर्शित करने का एक भारत प्रशांत क्षेत्र है। नेता के रूप में अपनी प्रोफाइल को बढ़ाने का अवसर प्रदान करता है माननीय। G20 की अध्यक्षता भारत के सतत और समावेशी विकास के लिए अपनी प्रतिनिधित्व का प्रदर्शित करने का और एक ऐसी दुनिया के लिए अपनी दृष्टि को बढ़ावा देने के लिए एक मंच प्रदान करता है जो समान और सभी के लिए न्याय संगत हो। अपने आर्थिक हितों का आगे बढ़ाना। माननीय G20 की अध्यक्षता भारत में अपने आर्थिक हितों को बढ़ावा देना है, अवसर प्रदान करना है, जैसे बाजारों तक पहुंचे और निवेश पे अभी के अधिक अधिक हो, अनुकूल व्यापार हो, निवेश समझौते हो, भारत में ऐसे इन क्षेत्रों की महत्वपूर्ण प्रगति है। लेकिन G20 की अध्यक्षता से देश में अपनी आर्थिक आशंकाओं को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए एक अतिरिक्त मंच प्रदान करता है माननीय, और वैश्विक एजेंडा को आकार देना। यह भारत की एक स्थायी समावेशी न्याय संगत है माननीय, दुनिया की अपनी दृष्टि को बढ़ावा देना, जलवायु परिवर्तन को असमान रूप से और कोविड-19 महामारी जैसे प्रमुख वैश्विक चुनौतियों का समाधान करने का एक अवसर प्रदान करता है। माननीय, भारत सतत विकास प्रबल हिमायती रहा है और उससे नवीकरण ऊर्जा, डिजिटल प्रौद्योगिकी और गरीबी का उन्मूलन जैसे क्षेत्रों का महत्वपूर्ण प्रगति की है। G20 अध्यक्षता भारत की अपने नेतृत्व के लिए प्रदर्शन करने का, इससे महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दों को वैश्विक संघात आकार देने का अवसर देती है माननीय। घरेलू असमानता के सुधार करना। माननीय, G20 में मेजबानी भारत के परिवहन के संचालन नेटवर्क जैसे अपने घरेलू बुनियादी ढांचे को निवेश भी करने का आवाज प्रदान करता है। यह केवल न सफल शिखर पर सम्मेलन सुनिश्चित करता है, बल्कि भविष्य में इसका आर्थिक विकास का भी अपने नागरिकों को जीवन में स्तर सुधार करने की नींव रखता है। भारत एक बड़ी और बढ़ती आबादी वाला देश है माननीय, और इसके बुनियादी ढांचे में सुधार इससे नागरिक और व्यवसायों का जरूरतों को पूरा करने के लिए आवश्यक होगा। G20 की अध्यक्षता भारत के अपने नागरिकों के लिए जीवन की गुणवत्ता का सुधार लाने के लिए और अधिक समृद्ध और न्याय संगत समाज बनाने के लिए अपनी प्रतिनिधित्व प्रदर्शित करता है। माननीय वासुदेव कुटुंबकम, थैंक यू। मैं अपना यही समापन करता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
Now the next participant is A15. I think A15 is not here. So we'll move further with F11. I request F11 to kindly join. Am I audible to you, F11?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you may start now.
A very good morning to the respected judges and my dear audience. I am representing F11 and will be speaking for the motion. We must travel, we must go to foreign parts, we must see how the engine of society works and keep free and open communication with what is going on in the minds of other nations if we really want to become a nation again. Quoted by Swami Vivekananda ji. Based on the above quote, we Indians have traveled extensively and have made conscious efforts to proclaim the name of our nation far and beyond, even making it possible for us to be proud of as India gains its G20 presidency at the Bali summit. A nation deeply committed to democracy, India's G20 presidency would be a watershed moment in our history as it provides pragmatic solutions to the concerning global issues and to manifest the true spirit of Vasudev Kutumbakam, or the world is one family, through the following ways. One of the most crucial issues that India is going to put up is food security, particularly the fact that food prices have shot up, and that is largely because both Russia and Ukraine are among the world's largest producers of grain, and that has been hit badly. What India is advocating is a very interesting approach. It is pushing for millets to be a major substitute to wheat. Millets are drought and disease resistant. They require less input and reduced labor. India produces 170 lakh tons of millet annually, which makes it 80% of Asia's production. In fact, at the UN General Assembly last year, it got it to declare 2023 as the International Year of Millets. The next crucial issue is trying to build up global value chains that go beyond just depending on China. By that, what the world is trying to achieve is that they know they cannot cut off their dealings with China, but certainly they're interested to find some of the alternatives, and India is keen to be one of the alternatives. Now, India has already conducted some of its G20 meetings, which clearly indicate that India's G20 presidency in the presidentship of India is not at all a talking shop. For example, it announced a beach cleaning event to be conducted on 21st May 2023. And the first Sherpa meeting, which was held in Feb in Udaipur, set the stage for key conversations on some of the most important issues of this time, such as sustainable development, women led development, resilient growth, facilitating and inclusive growth. Now, here some of the people said that G20 presidency, the decisions are not legally binding. Let me remind you of 2003. The United Nations Security Council. It didn't give permission to US to invade Iraq, but still it invaded Iraq, it destroyed it under its Operation Iraqi Freedom. Another point to be noted, China uses its status of developing country to benefit from the special treatment which is given to the poor nations in treaties and organizations. It is the world's second largest economy in 2021. It was declared by the World Bank, and it continues to receive billions in loans. But it walks, talks, and acts like a developed economy. So, should it be eligible to receive loans? So, in my opinion, if India succeeds in putting up this issue in its presidency ship, it would clearly prove as a catalyst to transform its image globally, since this is one of the most important issues concerning global economic justice. And that is all that I want to say. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you,
Before you
F11.
leave F11, I would like to ask a question to you. As you started with Vasudev Kutumbakam, do you feel that it is a mentality which cannot be altered very easily? What challenges we would be facing to have it?
But ma'am, first of all, we are currently facing some of the challenges such as Russia-Ukraine war. But ma'am, like we have different body parts in the body that work, that coordinate so that we can function properly. In similar way, these countries of the earth, they are like organs of this earth only. And India is trying to bring a consensus on this issue, that Modi ji told the president of Russia that this is not an era of war. So we are trying to negotiate between the countries. We are trying diplomacy with China. We are also trying to have diplomacy with America also. Although we are also having an independent stance. For example, we brought oil from Russia even though there were some sanctions. But still we are trying to advocate. We also have, as you have told in the previous session, that India helped people in COVID. It transferred them vaccines, it transferred them food grains. So that is how we are trying to manifest the true spirit of Vasudev Kutumbakam. Yeah, we also have conflicts in our families also, but that doesn't mean that we should fight. Our parents try to counter the conflict. So that is what is India going to do, and it is going to be a Vishwaguru in the future. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Acha, A4. Thank you, F11. Now I request A4 to kindly switch on the camera. Please switch on your mic, A4. Am I audible to you? You are not audible. Please switch on your mic. You're not audible, A4.
क्या मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ, अब आ रही है आपकी आवाज. आप शुरू कर सकते हैं.
ठीक है. 3, 2, 1 शुरू. सदन की गरिमा को मेरा सादर नमन. सदन में आज प्रस्तावित विषय G20 की अध्यक्षता वैश्विक पटल पर भारत की छवि में बदलाव लाएगी कि पुरजोर विपक्ष में. महोदया, सबसे पहले समझने की आवश्यकता है कि ये G20 क्या है, ये G20 की अध्यक्षता क्या है. महोदय, ये G20 एक ऐसा समूह है जिसमें 20 देश शामिल होते हैं और जो 20 देश है वो एक साथ संगठित होके वैश्विक स्तर पर आर्थिक मुद्दों के बारे में और सतत विकास के बारे में बात करते हैं. अब महोदय, जब हम छवि में बदलाव की बात करते हैं तो हमें आवश्यकता है ये जानने की कि वर्तमान समय में भारत की छवि कैसी है. महोदय, वर्तमान समय में भारत अपने टूरिज्म के लिए वैश्विक स्तर पर जाना जाता है. अपने विकासशील देश के बारे में वैश्विक पटल पर जाना जाता है. अब महोदया, इस पे आते हैं कि इससे वैश्विक पटल पर भारत की छवि में बदलाव कैसे नहीं आएगा. इससे वैश्विक स्तर पर भारत की छवि में सकारात्मक बदलाव भी नहीं आएगा और नकारात्मक बदलाव भी नहीं आएगा. कैसे? महोदय, सबसे पहली बात कि G20 की अध्यक्षता मिलना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. ये एक ऐसा प्रोसेस है जो क्या नाम है, बदलता रहता है. इसमें कोई स्थायित्व नहीं है. पिछले साल इसकी अध्यक्षता इंडोनेशिया ने करी थी. अब आने वाले साल में इसकी अध्यक्षता ब्राजील करने वाला है. तो ये अपने आप में कोई एक ऐसी विचित्र बात नहीं है कि ये बहुत बड़ी बात हो गई. ये एक चीज है जो होनी ही थी, भारत को इसकी अध्यक्षता मिलनी ही थी, तो मिल गई, तो इससे छवि में कोई बदलाव नहीं आता। उसके बाद महोदय दूसरी बात यहाँ पे आती है कि जब यहाँ पे वैश्विक स्तर पर मीटिंग्स हो रही हैं, तो ये ऐसी ऐसी जगहों पे हो रही है जहाँ पे कोई विकास नहीं है, जैसे खजुराहो जैसा हम लोग स्टेट ले लें, तो वहाँ पे कोई विकास नहीं है। तो अब जैसे बाहर से जब लोग आ रहे हैं, बड़े बड़े लोग आ रहे हैं, वो देख रहे हैं, तो उनकी स्थिति भारत के सामने, भारत की स्थिति उनके सामने कैसी है? भारत की स्थिति उनके सामने ऐसी ही है कि भारत तो विकासशील देश था, और जब वो यहाँ पे आ रहे हैं तो वो देख रहे हैं कि भारत अभी भी विकासशील देश है, यहाँ पे ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में भी कोई सुधार नहीं आया है, यहाँ पे और चीजों में भी कोई सुधार नहीं आया है। तो इससे महोदय पता चलता है कि जो छवि है वो बदल नहीं रही है, बल्कि वैसी की वैसी है। अब महोदय यहाँ पे बहुत सारे लोग बात करके गए होंगे वसुदेव कुटुंबकम की। अब महोदय यहाँ पे समझने की आवश्यकता ये है कि जब भारत विश्व गुरु होने की बात करता है, जब भारत वैश्विक पटल पर वसुदेव कुटुंबकम जैसे शब्दों का नारा देता है, लेकिन महोदय हमें ये समझने की भी आवश्यकता है कि भारत की छवि हमेशा से तटस्थ देश की छवि में बनी हुई है, चाहे वो यूक्रेन रशिया के मामले में हो, फिर चाहे वो अफगानिस्तान के मामले हो। भारत की स्थिति, भारत की जो छवि है वो हमेशा से ये रही है कि भारत एक तटस्थ देश है, वो कभी भी किसी के पक्ष में या किसी के विपक्ष में फैसला नहीं सुनाता। तो महोदया जब भारत G20 की अध्यक्षता कर रहा है, तो यहाँ पे भी सिर्फ यही प्रमाणित होता है कि भारत कहीं ना कहीं तटस्थ है। अब महोदया छवि बदलने के बहुत सारे वो होते हैं, प्रमाण होते हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं। एक अध्यक्षता करने से आपकी छवि ना तो सकारात्मक रूप से बदलती है, ना आपकी नकारात्मक रूप से बदलती है। इसी के साथ अपने मत को सदन पटल पर स्थापित करते हुए मैं यही बोलना चाहूंगी कि सबसे पहली बात, यहाँ पे स्थायित्व की कमी है, यह अध्यक्षता बदलती रहती है। दूसरी बात, जिसके लिए भारत जाना जाता है टूरिज्म, विकासशील देश के लिए, तो वो भारत अभी भी उसी तरह बरकरार है और लोगों की नजरों में उसकी छवि अभी भी ऐसी है। तीसरी बात महोदया यहाँ पे ये आती है कि वैश्विक पटल पर हमारी स्थिति अभी भी, हमारी जो छवि है वो अभी भी तटस्थ देशों में आती है, बल्कि वसुदेव कुटुंबकम विश्व गुरु का नारा देने से छवि नहीं बदलती है। तो इसी के साथ अपने वक्तव्य को समाप्त करते हुए धन्यवाद।
Thank you, A4. Now, with the due permission of the judges, we have A15 here. So, can we proceed with A15? With the due permission of the judges, may we proceed with the A15?
Yes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. A15, kindly switch on your camera and your mic.
Am I visible and audible?
Yes, you are visible and audible. You may start now.
Okay. So greetings to all the judges. I am team code A15 and I am speaking against the motion. First of all, I would like to start with a Hindi prayer. हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मन विजय करे, दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद की जय करे. India, the theme of the India is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So it will consider all the world as its family and it will look after that. So I will state some points in which I think that India should look at itself, its conditions prior to the world's condition. The first point I would like to state is that the debt crisis. According to me, the India should be first of all itself financially strong to pull out the other countries from the inflation they are suffering from and the global debt crisis. Because in this stage, the public debt is at its highest peak within the last 6 decades. So I think at this point, India should first of all make its own financial condition strong to help the other developing countries. The second point I would like to state is the Russian-Ukraine war. India has equal relation, I mean the same relations with both the nations, with both Ukraine and both Russia. But at this stage, India has to act as a mediator with both the nations to cool down the temperature or the war of currencies and weapons. And for this, I don't think that India has a good image of as a mediator, because when all the other countries cut off Russia, they stopped their trade and commerce with Russia. India is importing oil at cheap prices from Russia. I think that's a blot on India's image as a mediator. So at this point, I think the role of India as a mediator will be not good as expected by all the other nations or as a role of G20 member. The third point is also related to the Russia-Ukraine war. In this, the Russia has denied the supply of gases to the other countries such as Germany. And in the countries, Germany is a developing nation, and in countries like that, the gas supply is denied by the Russia. The conditions will be vulnerable till the end of the November, and I don't think it's India's cup of tea to manage all these conditions and to provide access to the supply of gas to the countries like Germany. So I think this will a negative point on India. The third point I would like to state is the fourth point is that India is the world's largest democracy, and it itself can understand the situation that when there is a high rise in the price, then it can also lead to political instability. And in the countries where the central banks of the G20 members have raised their interest rates. So I think this is affecting the international trade, and this will slow down the trade and commerce and development without bending the primary inflation. So, and the fifth and last point I would like to state is that in the meeting of UN General Assembly, the year 2023 was declared as the International Year of Millets. And in a G20 meeting, India came further to advance its millet production to substitute it with wheat. And I think when it has so many challenges in the
Speaking the
outside
time
world
is over
also
now.
and in the country itself, so it's difficult to manage it. So I will say that it will be a negative effect. That's all.
Okay, now we'll move forward with F12. F12, kindly switch on your camera and your mic. Am I audible to you, F12?
Yes, you are audible. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You may start now.
Greetings to the chair and fellow participants. I, Team Code F12, will be speaking for the motion, which is G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which translates to one earth, one family, and one future, is the theme of India's G20 presidency. The 5,000-year-old Indian civilization is quintessential of the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam philosophy. The theme reflects that India believes in holding hands and walking together with world's nation towards securing a better future. Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi has observed that our priorities will focus on healing our one earth, creating harmony within our one family, and giving hope for our one future. India's G20 presidency is a significant milestone because it seeks to find global practical solutions for the benefit of all. G20 is the largest forum where the major countries deliberate together towards securing a better world order. It comprises of 85% of GDP, 75% of global trade, and 60% of the world's population. Secondly, for a developing nation like India, the main aspect on which its image rests is economy. A recent article by Maurice Oxford, published in the Economic Times, titled India could be the world's third largest economy in the next decade. Its G20 presidency will be key. So the country has strong fundamentals which are putting it in a potential it is sorry which are putting it in a position to become the world's third largest economy. It has a strong labor force and significant human capital. It has undertaken reform which are promoting investment in the industry. Altogether, that is a good picture. The World Investment Report 2022 has positioned India as the seventh largest recipient of FDI. The presidency will provide India a much needed opportunity to expand its global outreach. It is expected to help India in its image enhancement exercise. Moving on to the third point, so G20 will be used to position India as a major tourist destination during its presidency. It will help in raising awareness about India's tourism potential at the global level. It is estimated that foreign tourist numbers could increase up to 15 million in 2024, contributing $30 billion in the earnings. India will host more than 200 G20 meetings at over 56 of the locations. It will provide India an opportunity to showcase its rich heritage and cultural diversity. Several delegates from the G20 member countries and the host countries will participate in the meeting, and it will provide India an opportunity to turn each delegate into the spokesperson of its tourism industry. The World Tourism and Travel Competitiveness Index 2019 has placed India as the 34th out of 140 countries. Our Honorable President Draupadi Murmu has observed that India is engaging with the world with greater self-confidence and a wider goal of national interest. This is indeed a correct, since India is on its way to become a major superpower to reckon with, and holding G20 presidency is a major steps toward it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, F12. Now I request A6 to kindly switch on their camera and their mic.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may start now.
A very good morning to all, and here are my arguments against the motion. For the very first time, India got the G20 presidency, and congratulations for that. But is it an achievement? No, because it got this on a rolling basis and not based on some merits. But the a common person or the citizen does not know about it, because it has been said to them that it is one of the biggest achievement of India and it would change its image globally. And to this, my next question is, does India need G20 to change its image globally? No. We were able to put our stand globally even before the G20 presidency and have a very good foreign relations with other countries. And we can see that our Honorable Prime Minister has done a very good job in that. During the COVID-19, we were a helping hand to many countries in medical supplies and vaccines. In Russia-Ukraine war, we had a stand and could take our own decisions. India's global image is not just dependent on G20. Until we translate G20 presidency into our own benefit, by taking appropriate measures, this will have no use. India's domestic political situation may hinder its ability to effectively lead the G20. The country is facing a significant political and economic challenges, including the rising inflation, unemployment, struggling agriculture sector, ongoing tensions with neighboring countries. These issues could distract the government from its G20 responsibility and limit its ability to effectively represent the interest of the wider global community. As we can see, the place of next meeting of G20 in Kashmir is disputed, and which can even affect this summit. India's foreign policy has often seen as inconsistent, and there are concerns that country may struggle to build consensus on critical issues. This could lead to a lack of progress on key economic and political issues that are important to India and a wider global community. We are a developing country. Countries who got independence before, after us also are in better economic condition. And what and where it has gone wrong is something to ponder upon. The G20 itself has been criticized as ineffective and lacking in real power. The G20 was effective during the initial phase of 2008 global financial crisis, and after that it didn't. So, as noted by John Lipsky, the former first managing director of International Monetary Fund, the problem is not the worthiness of the new issues, but the overloading of the agenda with the issues that dilute the focus of the summit. So the the subsequent summits lack the kind of solidarity and momentum needed to engage in concentrated efforts to address the global challenges seen at the London summit. Of course, not much could be achieved given the voluntary nature of the G20, but the London summit is a reminder that swift and concrete collective action is possible. At today's critical moment for the global economy, the world awaits a similar collective approach. Otherwise, people are going to ask, what do G20 summits achieve? Thank you.
Thank you, A6. Now we'll move forward with F13. Am I audible to you?
Yes, you're audible. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you're audible and visible. You may start now.
Thank you. Namaskar. India is one of the oldest civilizations of the world. India, where culture echoes, tradition speaks, beauty enthralls, and diversity delights. Being the world's largest democracy and a holy land of Gandhi and Buddha, India is chairing G20 presidency. G20, which represents two-thirds of the world's population, 85% of global GDP, 75% of international trade. India is holding 200 meetings in 56 cities across the nation. The world will witness India's astounding diversity of religion, culture, and language, which is unique and unparalleled. Friends, the last few years, the world has been beset by the challenges of the pandemic. but India arose with the ray of hope to the world. India not only vaccinated its own population, but also supplied vaccines to 94 countries under Vaccine Maitri program and becoming the pharmacy of the world. Friends, building on the notion of Vasudhaiva Kutumbaka, India in G20 not only given a position to consider the problems of vulnerable nations, particularly African nations, who were never heard before. India is pressing a reformed multipolar international system. India's template of using technology, such as in the digital architecture and public infrastructure goods, such as UPI, Coven platforms, Jam Trinity, is made India a world leader in digital arena. India will serve as a blueprint to the world that will approach to the era into the era of digital inclusiveness and social benefits through digitization. Friends, food security and climate change needs immediate focus. And India has given a unique solution to this. India proposed 2023 as International Year of Millets. Millets are less water consumable and can also grow on poor soil as well. India also launched Lifestyle for Environment movement, which calls for the intellectual, individual, and collective trends to move forward to combat climate change. India, in its G20 presidency, will focus on women-led development. In the past years, India has initiated various social reforms such as Mudra Yojana, Jal Jeevan Mission, Jan Dhan Yojana, and Ujjwala Yojana, which unleash the movement's potential. India will make this into the table of world to set and lead the narrative of women as key stakeholders for the development of the world. India will not limit itself only to the issuing statements and sanctions, but India's G20 presidency is ambitious, action-oriented, and decisive. India's G20 presidency will be that of India's emergence of global agenda setter, driver of global growth and social progress. Thank you.
Thank you, F13. Now we will move forward with A8. Am I audible to you, A8?
यस मैम आई एम ऑडिबल।
Okay,
क्या मैं शुरुआत कर सकता हूँ ऑनरेबल अध्यक्ष महोदय?
जी आप शुरुआत कर सकते हैं।
जब जब दहला विश्व हमारा, जब जब दहला विश्व हमारा, जब जब बेमकसद खून बहा, जब जब बेमकसद खून बहा, चीन जापान रूस सभी ने भारत को एक दूत कहा, भारत को एक दूत कहा। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदय एवं मेरे सभी साथी, आप सभी को सुप्रभात। मैं यहाँ पर G20 की अध्यक्षता के कुछ अगेंस्ट विरुद्ध में बोलने वाला हूँ। ऐसा कहना बिल्कुल गलत होगा कि G20 से ही भारत की एक छवि बदलेगी, इससे मैं बिल्कुल वाकिफ नहीं रखता हूँ। क्योंकि सबसे पहले मैं अपने भारत के कुछ इतिहास के बारे में बताना चाहूँगा, चाहे वो चंद्रगुप्त हो, सम्राट अशोक हो, समुद्रगुप्त हो, इन सभी ने अपने भारत को एक चोटी पर पहुंचाने का काम किया। और तो और जब हमें आज़ादी मिलने वाली थी, आज़ादी के बहुत सारे ऐसे नायक हुए जिनकी आज भी पूरी दुनिया मुरीद रखती है। इसका सीधा उदाहरण हम लोग कल देख सकते हैं। कल हमारा डॉक्टर भीमराव अम्बेडकर की जयंती थी, जो हमारे संविधान के निर्माता हैं। उनकी कल बहुत अलग अलग देशों में उनकी मतलब उनको आज भी दुनिया लोहा मानती है। चाहे फिर महात्मा गांधी हो, उनको आज भी, चाहे वो नेल्सन मंडेला हो आपके दक्षिण अफ्रीका के, या तो फिर मार्टिन लूथर किंग हो, वे लोग उनके सिद्धांत जो कि अहिंसा और सत्याग्रह का सिद्धांत था, उनको आज भी मानती है। अब मैं अपने भारत के बारे में, संविधान के बनने के बाद में बारे में बताना चाहता हूँ कि जब हमारा देश 200 वर्षों की गुलामी के बाद एक दृढ़ एवं लचीला संविधान बनाया और अपना एक प्रजातांत्रिक चुनाव कराया, तो उस समय सारे दुनिया हंसती थी कि भाई ये भारत अपना चुनाव कैसे करा सकता है। लेकिन 1951 में अपना एक प्रजातांत्रिक चुनाव करा करके भारत ने साबित कर दिया कि भारत वो देश है जिसको सिर्फ एक खड़ा होने की जरूरत है, और उसी समय भारत अपनी छवि को प्रदर्शित कर दिया। अब आगे बढ़ते हैं। जब पूरा देश शीत युद्ध में लिप्त था, द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध के बाद शीत युद्ध में लिप्त हो गया, तो दोनों देशों ने कहा, पश्चिमी और पूर्वी देशों ने कहा कि आकर के मिल जाइए। लेकिन उस समय के हमारे प्रधानमंत्री एवं विदेश मंत्री पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने कहा कि नहीं, हमें गुट निरपेक्ष के बारे में जाना चाहिए। और फिर यहाँ तक कि मैंने 65-71 का युद्ध लड़ा, जिसमें मैंने अपने आप को भारत की छवि को बारे में बता दिया। फिर उसके बाद देखिए, मैंने कोविड-19 में एक वैक्सीन मैत्री का प्रोविजन लाया, जो कि समझ सकते हैं कि मुझे ऐसा कहना बिल्कुल गलत होगा कि G20 से ही भारत की एक छवि बहुत अच्छी बनेगी। फिर उसके बाद मैंने 1999 में पोखरान में परमाणु परीक्षण किया, 2005 में आपके अमेरिका के साथ न्यूक्लियर डील किया। उसके बाद फिर एक और चीज़ अंत में बताना चाहता हूँ कि भारत की जनसंख्या 1 अरब 40 करोड़ है, जिसमें कि 65% लोग जो है 35 वर्ष से कम आयु के वर्ग के हैं। तो बिल्कुल ऐसे भी तो भारत की एक छवि ऐसे भी बने कि भारत में लेबर फोर्स सस्ती मिलती है, यहाँ के सरकार उन्हें इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर आसान प्रोवाइड कराती है। तो ऐसा बिल्कुल कहना गलत होगा कि सिर्फ G20 से ही। और यहाँ तक कि यदि बात है कि इवेंट करने की, तो भाई वैसा
A8, the time is over now. Kindly switch off your camera. Now we'll move forward with F14.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you're audible and visible. You may start now.
सबका साथ, सबका विकास and सबका विश्वास. Good morning to esteemed judges, fellow debaters, and everyone listening over here. Today, I have 14 feel privileged to debate in the favor of the motion that the G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. The reason I started myself by quoting Honorable Prime Minister is that the G20 presidency is the best example of this quote, that sabka saath, sabka vikas, and sabka vishwas. I want to explain why I use this. Firstly, let's understand what the G20 is. It is an international forum that brings together the world's major economies, representing around 80% of the global GDP, to discuss upon the issues such as the global trade, commerce, and development. India is set over to take the presidency from the Indonesia in the year 2023. India's presidency of the G20 will provide a unique opportunity for the India to play a role of global economic player and showcase its diplomatic as well as the economic powers to the whole world. As a growing economic power, India has a lot to offer in terms of the sustainable growth, trade, and development. With the youth of our country, our India has a lot to offer when it comes to the innovation, digital India campaigns, and various other priorities. India's focus on the economic growth, infrastructure development, and digital India campaigns with the priorities of the G20 are set aligned with the G20 and not against it. The country has already made significant progress in the global startups and the startups and such as the unicorn startups and the Make in India campaign. The best approach and the methods that can be shared by the India with those member countries will serve as a cherry on top for the priorities of our own nation. Coming to point that many others have quoted, that India will be lacking the power in the G20 and India won't be able to choose the agendas and the priorities for its own country. No, that's wrong. India will get the opportunity to choose the agendas and set the priorities that are beneficial not just for the member countries but for our own India also. The priorities and the agenda that will benefit our own youth will be set in the G20. Coming to the point that India will have a lot to share when it comes to the member countries. India already practices deep relations with most of the countries of the G20. Further, the G20 will provide the opportunity to start the relations with those countries which India have not started yet. We disagree that India should so fully focus on its own problems, post-pandemic issues or the economic issues. No. This is not the way that India should deal with it. India is getting the opportunity for the G20 presidency, and in this way, India can finally showcase what it has and what our culture has shown. Coming to the point that by engaging with the international community and playing a big brother role finally in the global economy, India will be seen as a keen player on the major economic nations. As the Prime Minister said, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas and Sabka Vishwas. India's G20 presidency will provide increased visibility to the India on the global stage when it comes to the presidency, as it is attended by the top officials from the member countries, multinational companies, that brings with it the foreign investment for our youth, which are the very talented in our country. The G20 is a forum for discussing issues such as the hate crimes, pandemic, and the nature and various other issues. When it's come to India, it will enhance the reputation of a proactive global player rather than a country sitting at the backseat of a car. Furthermore, the G20 presidency will enable India to strengthen its diplomatic ties with the existing countries and build the new ones. This will not only enhance India's soft power but also create
At 14,
opportunities
the
for the
time is
economic
over
and the
now.
strategic cooperation. Therefore, I strongly support the motion that the G20 presidency will transform India's image globally.
At
Thank you.
14, the time is over. Okay, thank you. Now I request 820 to kindly switch on their camera and their mic. Am I audible
Am
to
I both?
you?
Yes, am I both audible and visible?
Yes, you are. You may start now.
Greetings to the honorable judges and all the viewers present over here. To start off with the words of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, the government may come and go, but this nation should stand tall. I agree with what my opponent said, that the core purpose of G20 has always been to recognize the importance of collective actions. However, a pertinent observation have been left out by my opponent, that the effectiveness of these G20 summits in achieving these objectives is still a matter of debate. Despite the commitments made in G20 summits, there are often lack of concrete actions and follow up on these commitments. This is not what I am saying, but has been held in number of summits. For example, the 2019 one held in Japan. This brings me to my next point, that G20 summits are overly influenced by corporations and wealthy elites rather than the needs and interests of the ordinary people. For example, it was held in 2010 G20 summit in Canada, where the people highlighted this issue. If we talk about the Indian aspect, which is the topic of discussion here, see, the aim of these platforms is though to share collective response, but the countries are still competing with one another. It is not a platform where one comes to share its cultural values or they highlight what they believe or what they do not believe in. And as pointed out through many international summits that have happened, be it of Japan or be it of Canada, the in the minds of people, these summits lack the credibility, the accountability, and transparency. Also, to bring another issue in highlight, these presidencies happen on a rotationary basis. It is not something out of the blue that India has achieved and oh, we're very proud of it, and all the other stuff. India has the presidency today. The next year some other country will have the presidency. This point alone, that because we have the presidency our image is globally highlighted, is not a correct stance. The aim of India should be to develop the internal infrastructure rather than hosting the summits and seeking approvals of other people. See, talking about the infrastructure, one of the live example I would like to share is when in Indore the investor summits was being held. I happened to be there, and say for example the summit was supposed to be held on 20th. The preparations were being done till 19th night. This is the level at which we operate these operations at. The walls were being painted, cultural paintings were being done. This is what we're portraying to the investors internationally. India as a country should stand on the position that we want investors, we want people to invest in us, our true value, not in something that we have misrepresented, or the pretentious game. This pretentious game is not a long run, rather a short term goal. This is what India needs to understand. What I would suggest, uh, as another important point, is the global economic challenges. Whenever these summits happen, some or the other global challenge always prevail. For example, be it the aftermath of COVID-19 or the Ukraine war that has happened, India has to portray its neutral image. At
20, your
last,
time is over.
I would just request 30 seconds to conclude, if that's possible.
With the discretion of the judges.
Please.
Thank you, judges. At last, I would like to say that while G20 provide a platform, what India needs to do is the internal development. And I'm pretty sure if you go to the streets right now and ask people to name 5 members of G20, they will not be able to do so. This is where we lack, and this is where we need to improve. Thank you.
Thank you, A20. Now we'll move forward with F15. F15, I request you to.
I'm audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may
Fine.
start now.
Okay, thank you. Greetings to the judges and the viewers. My team code is F15 and I'm speaking for the motion. So, this is mine, that is yours. Says the dirty minded people. The wise believe that the entire world is a family. The underlying slogan of the India for G20 is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. That is the signature of India for India's compassion to the world. As we already know, what is G20, how many countries does it have, as said by the other participants, I will directly come to the significance of G20. G20. As G20 has the whole significant effects on the world, I will say that for India, the G20 presidency makes the beginning of Amrit Kal, which leads to a futuristic, prosperous, and developed society. G20 provides India with a chance to showcase its economy, political achievements to the world, and to its achievements to the world to raise its profile as a leader into Indo-Pacific region. India has been a strong advocate for sustainable development and has made a significant progress in the areas such as renewable energy, digital technology, poverty reduction. With rapidly growing population and large consumer market, India is an attractive destination for foreign investment and trade. The G20 presidency offers opportunity for India to leverage its position as a major player in the global economy, so it negotiate more favorable terms for its businessmen and its citizens. At last, I would like to quote some lines. Unity is the power of the world and nation which makes the beautiful connection. G20 make it possible, which ensures every trouble to be solved. Thank you.
Thank you, F15. Now we'll move forward with A10. A10. Am I audible
नमस्ते
to
यहाँ
you?
उपस्थित सभी या मैं आई
Yes, you may start now.
यहाँ उपस्थित यहाँ सभी महानुभावों को मेरा नमस्कार। मैं F10 इस वाद विवाद प्रतियोगिता के विषय के विरुद्ध अपने विचार को रखना चाहूँगा। G20 की अध्यक्षता विश्व स्तर पर भारत की छवि को बदल देगा, मुझे ये नहीं लगता। मुझे नहीं लगता कि एक सम्मेलन, एक 20 देशों का सम्मेलन किसी देश की छवि बदल सकता है। भारत विश्व विख्यात है, भारत पहले से ही समृद्ध है, उसकी एक छोटा सा सम्मेलन उसकी छवि को नहीं बदल सकता। आज दुनिया में ये बात चल रही है कि भारत G20 के सम्मेलन की अध्यक्षता करके विश्व गुरु बन जाएगा। मुझे ये नहीं लगता। मुझे ये भारत इस योग्य नहीं लगता। माफ करना, मैं कठोर शब्दों का प्रयोग कर रहा हूँ, पर सत्य हमेशा कठोर ही होता है। मेरे ख्याल से भारत को इस G20 सम्मेलन के अलावा भारत में कई अन्य समस्याएं हैं जिनको पहले प्राथमिकता देनी चाहिए। मेरे ज्ञान से मुझे ये लगता है कि G20 सम्मेलन से भारत को होने वाले फायदे से ज्यादा हानि ज्यादा पहुंचेगी। अगर हम इस हानि का आंकलन करें तो हम उसको 2 दृष्टिकोणों में तोल सकते हैं, एक कूटनीतिक और एक आर्थिक दृष्टिकोण। अगर मैं कूटनीतिक दृष्टिकोण की बात करूं तो मुझे पहला बिंदु याद आता है भारत चीन संबंध। जैसा कि हम जानते हैं, पिछले कुछ समय से भारत और चीन के बीच संबंध ज्यादा अच्छे नहीं रहे हैं। भारत ने चीन के खिलाफ एक कठोर रुख अपना रखा है। भारत ने अपनी आर्थिक नीति में चीन से निर्यात आयात पर रोक भी लगा रखी है, और जैसे कि चीन G20 का सदस्य है, वह इस मंच को पे भारत से ये प्रश्न जरूर करेगा और भारत को एक अध्यक्ष के रूप में चीन के खिलाफ थोड़ी नम्रता बरतनी पड़ सकती है। और अगर मैं दूसरे बिंदु की बात करूं तो मुझे याद आता है रूस यूक्रेन युद्ध। पिछले 1-1.5 साल से ये युद्ध चल रहा है। इस युद्ध ने पूरे विश्व भर की अर्थव्यवस्था को झकझोर कर रख दिया है। और रूस ही सिर्फ G20 का सदस्य यूक्रेन नहीं है, परंतु यूएसए जो कि यूक्रेन का साथ दे रहा है, ये दोनों भारत को अध्यक्ष के रूप में ये सवाल जरूर करेंगे कि वह इस युद्ध में किसका साथ दे रहा है। तो भारत ने अब तक इस प्रश्न पे अच्छा कूटनीतिक खेल दिखाया है। उन्होंने किसी का भी साथ ना देकर अपने आप को शांत रखकर इस खेल को अच्छे से खेला है। पर अगर ये प्रश्न इस मंच पर पूछा जाता है तो भारत को इस प्रश्न का जवाब देना पड़ेगा, और जो कि भारत के लिए हानि का सबब बन सकता है। अगर भारत रूस का साथ देता है तो भारत रूस से कच्चे तेल का बहुत ज्यादा आयात करता है, उस पे भारत को हानि सहन करनी पड़ेगी। और भारत यूक्रेन से वनस्पतिक तेल का बहुत बड़ा आयात करता है, और भारत यूक्रेन को मेडिकल सेवाएं बहुत ज्यादा निर्यात करता है, जिसमें भी भारत को हानि झेलनी पड़ सकती है। और अगर मैं दूसरे दृष्टिकोण की बात करूं तो जो कि आर्थिक दृष्टिकोण, भारत को इस सम्मेलन को आयोजित करने में एक बड़ी रकम इस सम्मेलन पे खर्च करनी पड़ेगी। हाल ही में दिल्ली सरकार ने ये कहा है कि सिर्फ दिल्ली सरकार ही 1084 करोड़ रुपए की रकम इस सम्मेलन को पूरा करने में खर्च करेगी, और अन्य राज्य भी एक बड़ी रकम इस सम्मेलन को पूरा करने में अदा करेगी। मेरे ख्याल से इतनी बड़ी रकम को भारत में और भी कई समस्याएं हैं, जैसे स्वास्थ्य हुआ, गरीबी हुआ, एम्प्लॉयमेंट हुआ, उस पे उन परेशानियों को मिटाने के लिए हमें इस रकम को काम के लेना चाहिए, जिससे भारत के प्रत्येक नागरिक को सीधे से सीधा लाभ पहुंचेगा। मैं अंत में यही कहना चाहूंगा कि G20 सम्मेलन भारत की अध्यक्षता भारत की छवि को नहीं सुधार सकता। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Aiden. Now we'll
Aiden,
move
I would
forward.
like
Okay, ma'am. Nasha, ma'am, you may ask a question.
Aiden, is Aiden available?
Yes, ma'am.
एक आपसे एक सवाल पूछना है। आपने कहा कि G20 प्रेसिडेंसी से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा भारत की ग्लोबल इमेज पे, वो कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे। कौन से आयाम आपको ऐसे नजर आते हैं जिसपे वो उनको काम करने से उनकी ग्लोबल इमेज चेंज हो सकती है?
मैम, मेरे ख्याल से भारत को पहले खुद के अंदर झांकना पड़ेगा। भारत में और भी कई समस्या है, पहले उसका निवारण करना पड़ेगा। जिस तरह आज यूएसए, यूके, रशिया जितने बड़े शक्तिशाली और इकोनॉमिक समृद्ध देश है, पहले भारत को वो बनना चाहिए, उसके बाद में ऐसे समिट को आयोजित करना चाहिए। और जैसे कि मैंने आपको कहा कि भारत चीन संबंध इसके खिलाफ अड़चन पैदा करेगा, भारत को जवाब देना पड़ेगा चीन से, और जो कि मेक इन इंडिया मिशन के विरुद्ध भी काम करेगा, क्योंकि अगर हम चीन से फिर से आयात करना स्टार्ट करेंगे तो मेक इन इंडिया मिशन पे भारत के ये अफेक्ट करेगा। और रूस यूक्रेन का भी मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया।
थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
Okay, thank you, Aiden. Now we'll move forward with F16. I request F16 to kindly switch on their mic and their camera.
Am I completely audible and visible?
Yes, you are. You may start now.
Okay, thank you. A question that we often heard in the past days from a certain section of people is that what's the big deal in India assuming the chairmanship of G20? This, along with all the like attempts of criticizing and mocking the extensive publicity of our presidency, was well sedated by the Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. S. Jaishankar, when he met his Austrian counterpart, Mr. Alexander Schallenberg, in Vietnam recently. Mr. Jaishankar rode on the dice that it is the first time in the history of our diplomacy that the leaders of top 20 economies of the world will visit India. And that too in the time when the world is under a great economic stress on the supply chain as well as on the demand side. And the environment of political polarization is looming across the globe. A very warm good morning to everyone. I will be speaking in favor of the motion today. starting my point from the fact that India is the only significant global economy of the world to have GDP growth rate of plus 6% in the coming years. It surpassed Britain last year to take the fifth largest spot in nominal GDP terms. The G20 presidency will give India a special chance to enhance its position in the global economic order during these challenging times. India is directing an ambitious, people centered agenda under the banner of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam to address all the global concerns and promote sustainable economic development. India is able to show its dedication to multilateral cooperations and creating bridges between other nations and areas through variety of initiatives and events. If we talk about capabilities, passions, and recognitions, all play a role in one's status as a power. Although it is acknowledged worldwide that G20 is not always the place to discuss security matters, but it has developed into a key forum for economic cooperation. Such issues continue to have enormous effects on the world economy. Since the United Nations and other bilateral efforts have failed to diffuse the UN crisis, the crisis that is going on between Russia and Ukraine, it is necessary for the G20 to address these concerns as much as possible. A New Delhi aspires to a presidency that will be inclusive, ambitious, decisive, and action oriented one. India focuses mainly on digital architecture, which is an inclusive of socio-economic transformation. And the main objectives will be to encourage inclusive growth and financial inclusions. In addition to it, Indonesia, India, Brazil, all the three growing economies are vying for G20 presidencies as a troika, giving the global south a stronger voice at the time when the world community needs to hear its concern more than ever. This might serve as yet another pillar for India, bridging the divide on topics like climate change, trade facilitation, and assistance for resilient healthcare, and to strike a delicate balance while holding the presidency. I would like to close my points with an answer to anyone who argues that Indian government has very dramatically presented this phenomena, that they should know that the American nationalism, the rise of China, the saga of Brexit, and the rebalancing of global economy are far more dramatic examples of change. And we as India aspire to overcome all these and become a great nation. Thank you everyone for patiently listening to me. It was an honor to speak in front of you. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, F16. Now we'll move forward with A23.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are. You may start now.
Yeah. Good morning, judges. I am A23 and I'll be speaking against the motion today. As we are aware of the fact that India has taken the reign of the G20 this year, many believe that this presidency could transform India's image globally. But the question is, will G20 presidency transform India's image globally? Now I am here with a different perspective. There are going to be a lot of challenges that India will face in its presidency year, as a lot has happened in the past few years globally. India's presidency, which began on December 1, 2022, at a time when world was facing hardships and global recessionary trends. The political polarization between the US and European Union and Russia. All G20 members will make every meeting that India will host fraught with tensions. Furthermore, it is also important for India to recognize that simply holding the G20 presidency does not automatically transform India's image globally. Indian Prime Minister, which is Mr. Narendra Modi, is also facing backlash from its own country's opposition members, whether it's on the theme or it's on the symbol, etc. Apart from this, after COVID-19 recovery, we can see high inflation rates as energy, food prices will remain high in 2023, linked to the conflict of Russia and Ukraine. These high prices will have significant impact on inflation, external finances, public finances, especially in those countries which are net importers of these commodities. Oh, talking about all the challenges, we cannot forget China was in the process of relaxing its draconian when India was taking its G20 presidency. That is zero COVID policy. What followed soon after the relaxation was nothing short of sheer economic and social havoc. And to talk about Pakistan, it is condemning India's decision that they are setting up G20 meetings in Himalayan territory of Kashmir. It also accuses India for the human right violation of people who are living under Pakistan control. Now, I think I have given justice to my perspective that G20 presidency will hardly transform India's image globally. As we can see, the Russia Ukraine conflict, Sino US rivalry, India's search for global consensus in the current context will be a daunting task. The deteriorating global macroeconomic environment, including rising unemployment, increasing cost of living, and food energy crisis, have exacerbated the difficulties and challenges of India's G20 presidency. The prospects for international cooperation are becoming more complex as countries turn their focus to solving domestic problems. So, with all this chaos happening in the world, I believe that India would not be able to transform its image through G20 presidency. Now, I would like to rest my voice with this last Hindi quote, which says कि एक तीर से कई निशाने चला साधने महारथी, परिवर्तन का ये युद्ध अनोखा, जनता जिसकी साथ थी, कुछ सह लिया कुछ सहेंगे, नहीं वंचित अब होना है, नव प्रभात की बेला अब निश्चित सूर्योदय होना है, निश्चित सूर्योदय होना है. Thank you.
Thank you, 823. Now, I would like to request the judges to that we'll move forward with the third session after 5 minutes break. And I thank all the participants of the second session. And I request all the participants of third session to kindly join after 5 minutes.
My experience in Subharti University was so good. I've enjoyed a lot. I've done so much fun here and I've learned a lot from here.
The experience in Subharti University has been incredibly amazing for me, and hence I would say that Subharti is the best.
It's like a small island in a city, and you should totally come here if you are pursuing anything.
The experience of Subharti has been always wonderful. यहाँ रहना, यहाँ पे लोगों से बातें करना, टीचर से थोड़ा थोड़ा एक्सपीरियंस लेना और उनकी कभी कभी डांट सुनना.
Now we'll start with the third session. I request the judges to kindly join. Okay. We'll move forward with F17 now. Am I audible to you, F17?
Am I audible and visible to you?
Yes, you are. You may start now.
May I start it now?
Yes, you can.
1, 2, 3, and go. Vasudev Kutumbakam. India is the one land that all desire to see, and having seen once by even a glimpse, would not give that glimpse for all the shores of all the rest of the world or the globe combined. Greetings to everyone, respected reverend members of jury, all the listeners who are listening me through any platform. Today I am Upasna here in the favor of the motion. See, when we talk about the G20 presidency, we took it over on 1st of December 2022. This presidency will definitely have a plethora of the global economic or any image, if we are talking about prospectively any image of India. See, we were born leaders. India is a leader. He was a leader, is a leader, and will always be a leader. So whenever one of my fellow mate, that was maybe A20, she said that this G20 presidency won't affect us globally. Why you have given it a thought that if it won't affect globally? My dear friend, it will affect, as India will always have a showcasing power that yes, I have that lead and I will always definitely have that lead. Whenever I am talking about this G20, even our foreign minister, even any our Sherpa even said that India is having that most important opportunity. Our youth and cultural minister even said that this is the time when we are having the presidency of Shanghai Corporation. Even now, we have the corporation and the presidency of G20. It's not a small thing. See, G20 is something which is betterly. We are not aiming only for those 19 countries except us. But yes, our India will also focus on all the South Asian countries. What does Vasudev Kutumbakaya of the Maha Upanishads 16.7th volume says? That this is one earth, one family, and it will have definitely a one future. Always India have such a thinking that yes, we have to take everyone with ourselves. If we are developing, let other countries which are there on this world be also developing. This have different settlements, different agreements, and this is not a small thing that a number of countries thoroughly accepted India as the president. See, moreover, in this group there were other countries too, but all the delegations, all the diplomats, all the countries agreed for India. So this is a thing. And also the theme, also life, that was lifestyle for the environment, my dear judges. It was also associated environmentally sustainability, responsibility choices. This is all what India takes as a leader. G20 is basically a premier forum, right? It is an international economic cooperation representing 85 of the global gross domestic production. This is not a small thing, my reverend members of jury. 75% of the global trade is in the G20 countries. And when we are having the hold of that G20, when we are having the presidency, we will have those old countries in our India. We will showcase our culture, our past history, the glimpse of our histories. This is a plethora that our India will showcase everyone. This is a platform where India can have a growth. And yes, the youth will definitely have a growth. I am linking it with the youth power too. Moreover,
F17, the
if I
time is over now.
okay, may I take 30 seconds if my judges permit me to just conclude it by saying some lines?
End it please quickly.
Thank you, ma'am. See, the purpose of established G20 was to create an atmosphere that supports the equitable global growth and development. And our India will definitely do that equitable global growth and development. This will bring together the most powerful economies, all the underdeveloped countries. We will have a focus on all those things. And this is what India is doing. And definitely it will help us to change our image globally. Thank you.
Thank you, F17. Now we'll move forward with A13.
May I
Am I
start?
audible to you?
Yeah, you're on.
Yes, you can start now.
All right. Today, I stand in strong opposition to the motion that the G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. I don't believe that we need to wait for any specific event or occasion to further boost India's image. Today's India's image is built upon its strengths, its achievements, and its contributions to humanity. These are not my words. These are the words of our very own Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi. To begin with, India's presidency in the G20 summit is a significant milestone. It is important to note that it is not the only platform for India to showcase its image globally. India has been an active participant in several other international organizations, such as the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, and the BRICS Group, to name a few. Thus, to say that the G20 presidency will single handedly transform India's image globally is a gross overestimation. In fact, the G20 presidency is but a temporary position that lasts only for a year. And while India may have the opportunity to showcase its capabilities and strengths, it is very unlikely to bring about a significant transformation to India's image globally. The previously held G20 presidencies have not always led to a significant change or policy changes. For instance, the G20 summit held in 2017 in Hamburg was met by violent protests and resulted in no concrete progress on the key issues of climate change and trade. Furthermore, India has been a member of G20 since 1999, since its inception. The G20 presidency is not a new position for India. India has previously held the G20 presidency in 2010 and has already showcased its potential to lead on a global stage. Thus, the G20 presidency is unlikely to be a transformative event for India's image. I am of the opinion that India's image is shaped by many factors, such as its influence, its economy, and its foreign policy. But I am sorry to say that these factors are very unlikely to be impacted by the G20 presidency. India faces many challenges that needs urgent attention. Issues such as poverty, corruption, and healthcare need to be addressed before India can transform its global image. The G20 presidency does not directly address these issues, and thus I dare say that it might not be as significant an event in changing India's image globally. Lastly, the G20 itself has a very limited impact on global affairs. The G20 was formed as a forum for international economic cooperation, but it has time and again faced criticism for being ineffective in addressing global issues such as climate change and income inequality. To conclude, I strongly oppose the motion that G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. Although I agree with the respected opposition's opinion that the G20 presidency will provide India with a platform to showcase its leadership abilities, I believe that it will not be a
Okay,
transformative
13,
event.
your time is over
That is,
now.
can I conclude? Like two lines,
With the
ma'am.
permission of the judges.
Ma'am, may I conclude?
Yes, quickly do it, please.
All right, ma'am. I believe that it will not be a transformative event that will significantly alter India's image globally, as the motion suggests, and it will only be one of the many factors that will contribute to India's global image. Thank you.
Thank you, A13. Now we'll move forward with F18.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may start now.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to one and all, respected juries and my dear friends. Today I'll be speaking in favor of the motion. The G20 is considered to be the most premium forum for the international economic cooperation and decision making. India, a fast developing economy at its 75th year of independence, is currently at the verge of unique opportunity to host G20. India has emerged as one of the fast growing economies in the world in recent years, with a GDP growth rate of 5.9% in 2023. And also, when we analyze, when all the nations are at the edge of recession, India is the only country which have recession probability of 0%, according to the recent statistics of IMF.
And thus, the G20 presidency will definitely allow India to showcase its economic potential and to demonstrate to the world that it's a reliable and credible partner for economic growth and development. And the G20 presidency will also give India a great opportunity to highlight its economic policies and initiatives such as Make in India, Digital India, and Startup India. A very sound example is India's own UPI, which is very unique and innovative foundation of India. G20 presidency provided India to highlight the success story of UPI before the world. And next, we all are well aware about the FIFA World Cup, which were hosted by Qatar. Qatar has spent around $200 billion to host the World Cup. Spending such a huge amount were a big question mark before the world. Their only explanation is the soft power. Before hosting World Cup, Qatar was known as a regressive, oil-rich, and an Islamic country. But after they hosted the World Cup, they were perceived as a hyper-rich, futuristic, developed, and progressive nation. So G20 presidency is a similar opportunity for India, like FIFA World Cup for Qatar, in order to transform their image before the world, to showcase their powers to the world. And next, a very crucial bane for India is that India is basically prejudiced based on the perspective-based index. We know that there are two kinds of index, that is empirical and perspective-based index. And empirical index is based on some crude facts and figures like GDP per capita. And for example, for example of perspective-based index is that like freedom of press index, world happiness index, and so on. So let's take an example. Uh, when we analyze the index denoting the academic freedom of universities, India is ranked below Afghanistan. Can you imagine that? This is how India is prejudiced as on the perspective-based index. Thus, G20 presidency will definitely provide India a great opportunity to put forward the real potential as well as their total powers before the world globally. Thus, with full of conviction, I can say that the G20 presidency will definitely transform India's image globally. Thank you.
Thank you, FET. Now we'll move forward with A7. Please switch on your camera, A7. Yes, you are. You may start now.
Okay. Vasudev Kutumbakam is the theme for India's G20 presidency this year. This presidency offers India an impeccable opportunity to play an important role in shaping and strengthening the global architecture and governance. However, like every coin has two sides, for every strength there's a weakness, and for every up there's a down, G20 presidency is also not devoid of challenges. To begin with, isn't it paradoxical that India is preaching the world about one earth, one family, one future, when it itself is divided on so many lines? Be it north-south divide on linguistic basis or the communal rights, which are still fresh in Indian society. Economic divide is such in our country that the costliest place, Nariman Point, coexists with the largest slum that the world can ever imagine. The second fault line in India's G20 presidency is the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Mind you that India has a time-tested friendship with Russia. However, West led by USA has been constantly pressurizing India for the boycott of Russia, which puts India into a tough spot. Connecting to this is the next problem. That is the emerging energy crisis. You all must remember that few months back, India was criticized left, right, center for buying cheap Russian oil when the world, particularly the West, was going through an acute energy crisis. The challenge does not end here. Employment is yet another issue on G20's agenda this year. And surprisingly, India will be addressing this at the time when it itself is experiencing an all-time high unemployment rate. Finally comes the big elephant in the room, that is the climate change. Do you know that India is the second largest producer of coal-based emission worldwide, only behind China? And that is the reason when developed countries want G20 to cap the carbon emission by 1.5 degrees Celsius and phase out the use of coal by 2025, India has constantly resisted this move, thereby again portraying itself into the darker side. The road ahead for India is full of challenges. May it be inflation, the COVID 19, the increasing assertiveness of China, or disrupted supply chain. With India struggling with all these challenges, how far do you think that this presidency, quote unquote, will transform India's image? Almost negligible. It is yet to be seen that instead of being an opportunity, the presidency does not prove to be a setback for India. Thank you.
Thank you, A7. Now we'll move forward with F19.
I'm visible.
Yes, you are visible. You may
Can
start
I
now.
begin?
Yes.
झुकती है दुनिया झुकाने वाला चाहिए नमो नमः। इसी विचार के साथ आज मैं योगिता अहलावत आपके समक्ष G20 की अध्यक्षता अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर भारत की छवि बदल देगी के समर्थन में अपने विचार प्रस्तुत करने जा रही हूँ। भारत की G20 अध्यक्षता की भावना एक पृथ्वी, एक परिवार, एक भविष्य के विषय में प्राचीन संस्कृत लोकाचार में वसुधैव कुटुंबकम के रूप में निहित है। सभी जीवन के मौलिक मूल्य जैसे कि मानव, पशु, पौधे और ग्रह पृथ्वी और व्यापक ब्रह्मांड पर उनका संबंध है। G20 के लोगों में कमल का प्रतीक इस संकटपूर्ण समय में आशा को दर्शाता है। कमल की 7 पंखुड़ियां विश्व के 7 महाद्वीपों और 7 संगीत स्वरों का प्रतिनिधित्व करती है। जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ेंगे, G20 दुनिया के सबसे बड़े लोकतंत्र भारत, इसकी महिमा और विविधता को प्रदर्शित करने का भी अवसर होगा। इसके पास सदस्य देशों को आर्थिक प्रगति से लेकर विज्ञान, अंतरिक्ष, नवाचार और स्टार्टअप तक के क्षेत्रों में उत्कृष्टता की नई ऊंचाइयों को देखने का भी अवसर होगा। G20 भारत के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है क्योंकि यह अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मंच UNSC के भी 5 स्थायी सदस्यों, G7 के सभी सदस्यों और ब्रिक्स देशों पर अपनी छत्र छाया में लाता है। यह मंच भारत को अपने विकास को प्रदर्शित करने और संभावित समाधानों के रूप में दुनिया के सामने अपने मॉडल पेश करने में मदद करेगा। ध्वनि मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स फंडामेंटल के साथ मजबूत सार्वजनिक वित्त, दृढ़ जलवायु नेतृत्व आदि के साथ भारत वैश्विक क्षितिज पर चमकने वाला एक उज्जवल स्थान है। G20 की अध्यक्षता के जरिए भारत को दुनिया भर के देशों में के सामने ब्रांड इंडिया की छवि और मजबूत करने का मौका मिल रहा है। भारत G20 की अध्यक्षता करते हुए सामाजिक व आर्थिक उत्थान में अपनी सक्रिय भूमिका निभा रहा है। आज वर्ल्ड बैंक हो या IMF, सबके आंकलन में भारत की आर्थिक वृद्धि दर लगातार ऊंची बनी हुई है। RBI के मुताबिक भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था 2023 तक 3 लाख करोड़ डॉलर की हो जाएगी और दुनिया की 5वीं सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था के रूप में भारत ब्रिटेन से भी आगे रहेगा। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय मुद्रा कोष का अनुमान है कि 2025 तक भारत दुनिया की 4थी सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था तथा 2027 तक 5 लाख करोड़ डॉलर के साथ दुनिया की 3री सबसे बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था होगी। कृषि क्षेत्र में सफलता को लेकर G20 बैठकों के माध्यम से कृषि के वैश्विक बाजार पर पकड़ बनाने की भरपूर कोशिश की जा रही है। हर बैठक में कृषि क्षेत्र में विदेशी मेहमानों का ध्यान खींचा जा रहा है। खासकर मिलेट्स से बने उत्पाद की बड़ी बोर्डिंग हो रही है। विश्व में मोटे अनाज उत्पादन में भारत की हिस्सेदारी 40% है। ठहरिए, यही नहीं, मोदी जी ने कहा था कि हमें G20 मीटिंग को केवल एक डिप्लोमेटिक इवेंट नहीं बल्कि जन भागीदारी का एक ऐतिहासिक आयोजन बनाना है। दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतंत्र अब दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा बाजार बनने की राह पर है,
F19, the time is over now.
Can I get an extension of 30 seconds, please?
With the discretion of the judges.
Can I?
Okay, do it.
दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतंत्र अब दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा बाजार बनने की राह पर है, जिसमें तमाम बड़े देश अपनी संभावनाएं दिखा रहे हैं। खास बात यह है कि इन सभी देशों को अब ये भी पता चल रहा है कि इस बाजार में एक नहीं बल्कि दो और उससे भी कई व्यावसायिक केंद्र हैं। अंत में मैं यही कहना चाहूँगी कि आज पूरी दुनिया भारत की अहमियत को समझती है। वह जानती है कि भारत जो कहता है वह करता है। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने 2047 तक भारत को विकसित बनाने का महत्वाकांक्षी लक्ष्य रखा है। भारत के तेवर जिस तरह के हैं उससे आज कुछ भी नामुमकिन नहीं दिखता। दुनिया को महसूस होने लगा है कि भारत एक ऐसा देश है जहां उनके निवेश सुरक्षित हैं। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, F19. Now I request A17 to kindly switch on their mic and the camera.
Am I audible and visible clearly?
Yes, you are audible and visible. You may start now.
It was the best of the time, it was the worst of the time. A country which discuss about the population control over the global platform like G20, but its own population is taking growth at a rate of the 0.8% every year and reach the level of 140 crore, and we are living in a dream that the G20 presidency transform India's image globally. Hello everyone, this is A17 and today I present here to give my views against the motion that G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. G20 is considered as a group of developing and the developed country which basically work for the economic corporation and the social corporation. But what is the reality? What is the real image of India at globally? Increasing in the percentage of people having the low per capita income, the per capita income that is around 17,000, and the unemployment rate which reached to the 7.14%. And India, after getting the presidency from December 1st, 2020 onwards, it reached to the 7.45%. What the image India has at a global level. Without taking any steps to do social, economic, and the political welfare, we are assuming that the presidency of the G20 transform India's image globally. If anyone asks me, India is fulfilling its past promises that India gives on the G20 global platform, I will say no. I will say no. As a member of TRICO of G20, India always give it concern about the climate change and the pollution at different we can say at different levels. We are the largest, we are saying third largest emitter of the carbon monoxide at the world level. We are going for the presidency of the G20, but we are not taking any hard measure for the climate change and the pollution, which is most concerned topic for the G20 countries. Among the most polluted countries, among the most 30 most polluted countries, 21 are the present in India. What we can say, but the image of India, we will always give concerns over the G20 platform that the climate change is most concerned topic, but we didn't put any effort to reduce the pollution in our own country. India, which is not happy with the functioning of the UN, is actually functioning of the Security Council, and we are trying to promote peace and security in front of the G20 platform and all over the world. But the irony lies that the largest importer of the weapon, and when it talks about non using and producing about the non-nuclear weapon, but oppositely, India doesn't sign any treaty like NPT, CTBT. It always promote about the peace and security, but we know what India stand in the Russia-Ukraine war. India shows the neutrality. The two sides of the India doesn't make or doesn't improve India's image globally. I also want to mention that the G20 majorly work for the economic cooperation and the eradication of the poverty. But a country which poverty ratio is increasing due to increase in population, which term the remark of 140 crore. and around 16.4% of the people living below the poverty line. And in country like India, where there is need of the where people major
A17,
need
the
is the
time is over now.
basic not fulfilled by the government, and we are supposing that the getting the presidency of the G20 will transform India's image at global
A17, the time is
level.
over now.
But until we are not able to, yeah, thank you. I want to take just 10 minutes.
Thank you.
No thanks, please.
Okay, now we'll move forward with F20.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may start now.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone. Look at the sky. We are not alone. The whole universe is friendly to us and conspire only to give the best to those who dreamt and worked. This is said by the Honorable Dr. Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Moving further, as only 3 minutes are provided to me, I will put few arguments to convince you all that G20 presidency will transform India's image globally. As my fellow opponent says that we are pretentious or India is lacking in the indexes or we can't change the image through this, I want to why. The question is why. It will change. In fact, we are progressing year by year, and through such a G20 summit, the presidency will, what we can say, will increase the change the globally. India's at the G20 summit has very evidently expressed its vision by asserting that without peace and security, our next generation will not be able to benefit from economic growth and technological innovation. As the only G20 member from South Asia, and when multilateralism itself is experiencing a crisis, India's G20 leadership was the ideal opportunity for New Delhi to build an effective platform. Talking about the crisis that South Asian countries are facing, the global food, the energy, and the financial crisis have been exacerbated by the climatic crisis, and India had a unique opportunity to lead from the front of one of the most influential global platforms. Talking about India had identified several priorities, that is green development, climatic finance, and lifestyle for environment, accelerated for the inclusive and resilient growth, accelerating progress on self-development goals. The majority of problems that South Asian countries are facing in global nature transcend Indian national borders and necessitate group efforts. If I talk, the economic forest for South Asia is bleak from the coming year. If I talk about the data, in August 2022, inflation in Sri Lanka reached an all-time high of 64.3% as food price rose by 84.6% compared to a year ago. Damages caused by flood and economic loss in Pakistan amounts to more than $30 billion with an estimated restoration cost of more than $16 billion. So India had promoted collectively a action at the G20 that results in economic stability and peace in the region. Providing a common regional voice was not an easy undertaking at a time when economic in the region are under considerable. So, as moving further, I would like to mention few points that the G20 through G20 president there was firstly visibility in the global arena, secondly enhanced international reputation, thirdly the economic benefits, and the last is the leadership goal. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that India G20 presidency has the potential to transform its image globally. It offers a unique opportunity for the country to lead the globe economic agenda, enhance its reputation as a significant player in the international relations, and promote its culture and value to the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, F20. Now we'll move forward with A9.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may start now.
Good afternoon, judges. I'm speaking against the motion. So, this year, 2023, is going to be remarked by a very marked event, which is G20, which is supposed to transform the India's image globally. Although G20 presidency is just a mere gesture, mere presidency of India's in G20 is not going to change India's image globally. Mere hosting a presidency. It is not going to affect the perspective of the world nations that it holds towards India, as we know that a country is going to be assessed by how the citizens are living, how are their economic conditions, and not the number of presidencies they held. And moving further, we see that a common citizen is concerned about their basic necessities, their education, their health policies, and not the presidencies they held. And also, the G20 presidents G20's outcome uh, is failing its charisma over the years. Like, its outcome is not good, as we have seen in past years. Like, Indonesia has not been successful in resolving the disputes of Russia and Ukraine war, when Indonesia was leading. And then, if we see that a number of presidencies that India has held over now, like UNC and other organizations, nothing has changes. It's globally. And then, if we see the indexes, like, there are various indexes, like in health, global health index, we stands rank 154 out of 195, and then 85 out of 180 in corruption global index. And in terrorism global index, we stands over 13 out of 163. All this shows that we are not as successful as as we are saying. And also, if we see, there are many challenges, which is like, this nuclear weapons use of nuclear weapons is likely increasing. And India has signed the treaty of non proliferation of nuclear weapons. And also, Europe's instance is not clear about its Asia about China and India issues. And there is a big fight is going on between east and west side. Russia and China is on one side, and Israel and USA is on one side. How will India act as a mediator? This is going to be a very hard challenge. And then also, how India is going to promote its sustainable ideas, because India is not is India has retained from UN. And there are a lot, and also this. There are other instances also, that how will global peoples will change about our economic system. Like, poor peoples are getting more poor, and richer peoples are getting more richer. And how will we embed our Gandhian ideal? These are going to be the many challenges. And with this, I'm closing my arguments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, A9. Now we'll move forward with F21.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may start now.
One earth, one family, one future. Good afternoon to one and all present here. Today, I am here to stand for the motion for the topic G20 presidency will transform the India's image globally, and I strongly believe in it. We as a country at a global level is ought to adapt the change and change crisis into opportunities. My worthy opponents pointed out that mere heading a presidency cannot change the India's image globally. Let me tell you, my dear judges, the Stockholm Conference in the 1872 led to the amendment in the Constitution of India related to environmental issues by addition of Article 51 AG. And if we talk about the environmental issues and climate changes in the G20 summit, it is also one of the prime points which needs to be considered. And our Prime Minister has also said that there are certain sustainable development efforts that are being carried out by India, which he will promote in the summit. This will not only increase the job in our country, but also help to transform the image globally. If we talk about the economic impact, G20 is a group of people with leading economies in the world. That is over 85%. And during this time, it is the right time that we are heading this presidency, because where the country is where every country is recovering from war crisis or COVID crisis, it is our time to prove our economic potential and boost our financial aids from the other countries and private investments. Also, my worthy opponent pointed out that in 2017, the G20 summit was not a success. Let me tell you, my dear judges, Germany introduced their model Mittelsand, and it introduced it and said that it is the backbone of their economy. And it was followed by many countries after that. It led by an example. So saying this that it was not a success is absolutely wrong. G20 summit will also help in setting up the financial institutions and help India to shaping and taking steps towards the global governance. India G20 presidency will also have certain legal implications, as it is the country's obligation to enforce international law, and India is transforming from dualism to monism, and we are considering international law as very important part of our country as well as in the world. So, in the end, I would like to say that legal implications, economic and climatical change, everything is absolutely responsible for changing India's presidency, for changing India's image at a global level. So, I rest my case there. Thank you.
Thank you, F1. Now we'll move forward with A19.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you're audible.
Shall I start?
Yes.
Shall I start? I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. क्या G20 की मेजबानी बदलेगी भारत की कहानी? नमो नमः। इसी विचार के साथ मैं इशिका कन्याल आपके समक्ष विषय G20 की अध्यक्षता विश्व स्तर पर भारत की छवि बदलेगी कि मैं अपने विचार प्रस्तुत करने जा रही हूँ। भारत के G20 की अध्यक्षता में भू राजनीति की अस्थिरता के साथ साथ वैश्विक आर्थिक गतिविधियों में मंदी भी विरासत में मिली है। भारत के लिए आगे की राह चुनौतियों से भरी है, जिसमें यूक्रेन के खिलाफ युद्ध और कोविड-19 महामारी से वैश्विक अर्थव्यवस्था को खतरा है, जो बाधित आपूर्ति श्रृंखलाओं, रहने की लागत संकट, ऊर्जा की बढ़ती कीमतों और जलवायु कार्रवाई के लिए चुनौतियों का सामना कर रहा है। भारत ने अपनी G20 अध्यक्ष पद के लिए वसुधैव कुटुंब अर्थात एक पृथ्वी, एक परिवार, एक भविष्य विश्व चुना है, जो पृथ्वी की सुरक्षा से जुड़े विकास प्रक्रिया में सभी जीवन रूपों में ध्यान में रखते हुए स्थिरता के साथ विकास के समय दृष्टिकोण का प्रतिनिधित्व करता है। G20 वैश्विक आर्थिक सहयोग और नीतिगत दिशा निर्देशों के लिए प्रमुख मंच के रूप में विकसित और उभरती अर्थव्यवस्थाओं को सामूहिक रूप से वैश्विक आर्थिक चुनौतियों का समाधान करने की इच्छा से प्रतिनिधित्व करता है। भारतीय प्रेसिडेंसी को MPD के माध्यम से वित्तपोषण आवश्यकताओं के लिए सीमा पार चुनौतियों पर पूर्ण विचार करना होगा, जो वैश्विक मुद्रास्फीति, खाद्य और ऊर्जा असुरक्षा और जलवायु परिवर्तन के मैक्रो आर्थिक प्रभावों जैसी साझा वैश्विक आर्थिक चुनौतियों को संबोधित करने के लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण बाधा है। इस प्रकार बहुपक्षीय वित्तीय संस्थानों को अमेरिका में मौद्रिक नीति परिवर्तनों का ट्रैक रखना होगा, जो अपनी राजकोषीय नीति का प्रबंध करने के समय विकासशील देशों में सीमाओं के पार महत्वपूर्ण प्रभाव डालते हैं। इस प्रकार भारत को IMF और विश्व बैंक में शासन सुधार लाने की दिशा में एक बड़ा कदम आगे बढ़ाना होगा। इसके अलावा भारत प्रेसिडेंसी में वित्तीय समावेशन के लिए एक जन केंद्रित दृष्टिकोण का पालन किया जाना होगा, जो मौजूदा पूंजी और अन्य संस्थाओं में प्रभावी पुनर्वितरण के माध्यम से ला जा सकता है। अंत में अपनी वाणी को विराम देते हुए मैं ये कहना चाहूंगी, भारत LIF की अवधारणा में संतृप्त बाजार आधारित उपभोक्तवाद पर पर्यावरण में अनुकूल प्रथाओं के पक्ष में अपनी समुद्र प्राचीन और टिकाऊ परंपराओं की पेशकश कर रहा है। विकासशील देशों के लिए सिर्फ और सिर्फ ऊर्जा संक्रमण के साथ साथ जलवायु, वित्त और प्रौद्योगिकी के माध्यम से हरित विकास को बढ़ावा दिया जाएगा। हालांकि हालांकि इसके निर्माण के लिए एक बड़ी पूंजी की आवश्यकता होती है, जिसके निर्माण के लिए G20, IMF और विश्व बैंकों के साथ समन्वय कर सकता है। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, A19. Now we'll move forward with F22.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may start now.
The world used to think that we are a land of snake charmers and black magic. But the youth has surprised the world with its skills. I dream of a digital and developing India. A very warm good morning to all of you. IF22 is going to speak in the favor of the motion. First things first, what is G20? G20 is a group of 20 countries that represents 60% of the world's population. These 20 countries account for 75% of world's trade and 85% of world's GDP comes from these countries. India is a G20 president from December 2022 to November 2023. Now, the main question arises why the world felt the need for G20. Before G20, there was another group called G7, which included all the developed countries. These Western countries only cared about their interests. But in a globalized world, things happening in one part of the world can impact the other parts of the world as well. For example, let's take 2008 financial crisis. In 2008, a major financial crisis happened in USA that impacted the whole world. The whole world had to face the recession. So the G7 decided to establish G20 because they thought that it is important. It is important to because the G7 thought that realized that international cooperation was necessary. Um, India is the G20 president, and by the virtue of being president, our country enjoys certain powers. For example, India can invite countries which are not a part of G20 group. With this small one move, we can establish better international relations. India has invited UAE as a guest for G20. UAE is an important strategic partner for India along with other countries like Bangladesh, Egypt, Oman, Singapore, Spain, etc. India's PM said in the G20 Bali summit that multilateral institutions are failing institutions like UN, WTO, WHO. They only give preference to the global north or developed countries. India is in such a situation today that India can talk to Russia, they can talk to Saudi Arabia and USA as well. Our diplomacy has seen a revival in the past year, and we will have to take the advantage of this. This year is an important opportunity for India to establish our leadership. Getting G20 presidency is no big deal, but how we use the presidency is more important. 2021 only saw India's burning fires. When you only see negative about a country, it creates a global impression that nothing good can happen in that country. But the truth is, we are making huge leaps in the green energy. Our fintech is most developed globally, but we never show our advances to the world. We focus only on our failures. So it's time to show that India can
F22, your
India
time
can.
is over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move forward with A14.
Am I audible? Shall I start?
Yes, you're audible. You
Esteemed
may start.
judges, esteemed judges, honorable chair, fellow debaters, today I stand in the opposition to the notion that G20 presidency is a development opportunity for India. While India's accession to the presidency of the G20 may seem like a positive step for the country, I argue that it will be a development opportunity, but rather a distraction from the pressing domestic challenges. Firstly, the G20 is a forum of the world's most powerful economies, and as a result, the focus of its discussion tend to be on a global economic issue rather than a developmental needs of individual country. While India's presidency may provide a platform to raise its concern, it is unlikely to result in significant progress towards the development goals. Secondly, the G20 presidency required significant resources and attention from the government which could be better utilized addressing the domestic issues right now. Right now, India is facing multitude and multiple challenges such as unemployment, poverty, underemployment, poor healthcare, unavailability of facilities, unavailability of proper infrastructure. These challenges require the government's undivided attention and resources, which could be diverted by the G20 presidency. Furthermore, the G20 presidency may lead to India taking on commitments that it is not equipped to deal with right now. India is a developing nation, and while it has made a significant progress also, but there are still various challenges that we are still facing. And as a result of the G20 presidency, we may take certain commitments which we will not be able to fulfill, and that would end up damaging our reputation on the international level. Finally, India's G20 presidency could divert the attention from its ongoing conflicts with the neighbor nations. The G20 presidency could lead to India becoming more focused on the international images and reputation rather than addressing its security and geopolitical challenges, which may lead up to the a point where we will realize that we have got the presidency, but we are unable to use our assets on us only. In conclusion, while India's presidency of the G20 may seem like a positive step, it is not a development opportunity for sure for the country. Instead, it could be distraction from the pressing domestic challenges and the issues that we are facing right now as a country. It may lead up to making commitments that is not equipped to fulfill. It may divert our attention from the ongoing conflicts with our neighbors, from our own issues. Right now, I feel like India need to work more on its own issues, such as unemployment, getting opportunities to people, giving people the employment, and working on the basic healthcare, gender equality, and providing women their rights, equality, gender equality, etc. Therefore, I urge you to reject the notion that G20 presidency is a development opportunity for India. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, A14. Now we'll move forward with F23.
Am I audible and visible clearly?
Yes, you are. You may start now.
Sure, thank you. Namaskar to one and all present here, and this is F23. I'll be speaking in favor of the motion today. Firstly, I would like to quote the words of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. India's G20 presidency will work to promote this universal sense of oneness. Hence our theme, One Earth, One Family, One Future. Unfortunately, we remain trapped in the same zero-sum mindset even today. We see it when countries fight over territory or resources. We see it when supplies of essential goods are weaponized. We see it when vaccines are hoarded by a few, even as billions remain vulnerable. Some may argue that confrontation and greed are just human nature. I disagree. If humans were inherently selfish, what would explain the lasting appeal of so many spiritual traditions that advocate the fundamental oneness of us all? One such tradition, popular in India, sees all living beings and even inanimate things as composed of the same five basic elements: the Panch Tattva of earth, water, fire, air, and space. Harmony among these elements within us and between us is essential for our physical, social, and environmental well being. India's G20 presidency will work to promote this universal sense of oneness. Hence, our theme, One Earth, One Family, One Future. This is not just a slogan. It takes into account recent changes in human circumstances, which we have collectively failed to appreciate. Today, we have the means to produce enough to meet the basic needs of all people in the world. Today, we do not need to fight for our survival. Our era need not be one of war. Indeed, it must not be one. Today, the greatest challenges we face, climate change, terrorism, and pandemics, can be solved not by fighting each other, but only by acting together. Fortunately, today's technology also gives us the means to address problems on a humanity-wide scale. Housing one-sixth of humanity and with its immense diversity of languages, religions, customs, and beliefs, India is a microcosm of the world. Today's world is looking at collective leadership with great hope. India's role as G20 president is very important. Today, there is an unprecedented curiosity in the world to know and understand India. Today, India is being studied in a new light. As we move forward, the G20 will also be a chance to showcase India, the largest democracy in the world, its glory and diversity. It will also have an opportunity to show the member nations its new heights of excellence in areas ranging from economic progress to science and technology, space, innovation, and startups. At last, I would like to conclude by a few lines in Hindi, which fills me with immense pride to be born as an Indian. मैं उस देश की नागरिक हूं जहां छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज सम्राट अशोका जैसा राजा था। मैं उस देश की नागरिक हूं जहां हर 50 मील पर रूप, पहनावा, मजहब बदल जाता था। मैं उस देश की नागरिक हूं जिसे अपने भूगोल से पहले इस ब्रह्मांड का भूगोल समझ आता था। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you, F23. Now we'll move forward with A21. No, you're not audible, A21.
Am I audible?
No, not yet.
What about now?
No.
Please confirm again.
Yes, you are audible now.
All right.
Okay, you may start now.
Good morning to everyone present. I extend my gratitude to the Institute to provide me with the opportunity to present my counter argument to the proposition that G20 will transform India's image globally. It is highly commendable and a significant milestone for India to take as the host of the G20 in December 2022. However, in my opinion, it falls short of being a transformative event for India's global image. I believe that mere holding a presidency does not transform any country's image globally. My fellow debaters have already pointed out several examples where countries are still at a gripping stage even after holding presidencies. Hence, I believe that a country's worth is not assessed by the number of positions it holds globally, but by its economic, political, and social agenda that it follows. Hence, mere putting forward ideas like declaring 2023 as the year of the millets to counter the food crisis are futile until an implementation regime is in place. I would like to support my contentions forward with statistical facts rather than hypotheses and ostentatious ideas. Notably, the G20 forum brings together the world's 20 largest economies, accounting for 85% of the global GDP. Yet, to have an upper hand, a country needs to be politically stable and address currency crisis and inflation remarkably. However, looking at the world ranking, India ranks at 107th out of 121 countries in hunger index and 135th of 146th in gender gap, etc., which points at the wavering position of it in the global world order. This is also coming at a very crucial time when the world has been through 2 years of pandemic, and in the last year when the pandemic recovery was taking place, the Russia-Ukraine war started. So the world is still in a very serious state of flux with fuel and food crisis. To have world leaders appreciate India's policies, it's need to bring about some sort of modicum of settlement between the two countries, which is a challenge because India stands in the middle of the West and the East to begin transformation. India is often seen as remaining silent to protect its relations and can't transform its image globally when it won't take up issues that affect its foreign relations. It is also argued that G20 forum operates by consensus. It is not a binding organization. Its regulations are not legally enforceable. Hence, to live up to its theme of one earth, one family, one future, India needs to have an upper hand in persuasion when it is itself facing national challenges. Thus, an estimation too soon to argue that it will transform India's image. A country's global image is also not solely dependent on the economic condition but also on its social welfare and cultural diversity. And India is crippling with various challenges in all these arenas. Its image has already been blemished by issues such as corruption, communal violence, human rights violation, which will not be solved by assuming G20 presidency, rather likely to persist regardless. The world is at a stage of recession. The global debt faces a debilitating challenge. And India, despite being the world's fastest economy, it ranks as low as 142 as in 192 countries in Human Development Index and faces crippling challenges of poverty and income disparity. How can it navigate through global financial restructuring and transform its image when it itself is in debt and still extending free resources to build relations at its own detriment? India's presidency of G20 comes at a time when the world is facing growing concerns about climate change. Notably, India is one of the largest emitters of greenhouse gases itself, and unless it uses its leadership to address this challenge and make an example itself, its decisions will only amount to a global talk show. In conclusion, let's not turn a blind eye that a single
8:41, the
achievement.
time is over now.
Can I just extend 5 seconds to just say the concluding line on the judges?
Yes, conclude it, please.
Okay. So, in conclusion, let's not turn a blind eye that a single achievement like assuming G20 presidency will automatically transform India's image. It will only be through combined efforts and implementation regimes that will bring forward the global reform and stability that G20 stands for. Thank you.
Thank you, 8:21. Now I request the judges to kindly share their experience and bless the participants if they wish to.
Start.
Should I?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Okay. So, Jai Hind, the competent authorities of the university and the Dean and Principal of Law College and my fellow jury member, Mrs. Anshu Tyagi. Uh, I first of all want to congratulate all the participants who have participated very well and well spoken they are during the debate. They put forth their views and opinion in a very frank manner, in a very good style. On the other hand, they have the subject knowledge of their subject. That is very pleasant thing for me. I found them very competent about their subject. Some students were found only that they had a little bit they deviated from the track, but
Yes.
still they came on a stage, they efforted. That's a big thing. We wish the best of luck for them also. On the other hand, most of the students have discussed many more uh, means opportunities and challenges during G20 presidency for India. And they have discussed many more things like Rus and Ukraine war, India and China relationship, India-Pakistan relationship, GDP rate, climate change, and all the opinions were found very satisfactory and good one. The results, if we talk about, we know will be discussed later on, but participants and all the contestants have done very well. Uh, Whatever our opinions are, whether we have spoken in for the motion or against the motion, but I believe that we all would like that our nation should be developed country, one of the developed countries, and we wish all the best for our nation, and we wish that such kind of the debates should also be organized in future. Thank you very much to the Law College particularly and Unmukt Bharat who has collaborated, and also to the university and jury member also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Now I request
Hello.
Anshu ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Jai Hind. First of all,
Jai.
thank you so much for inviting me as a judge today. I really enjoyed the afternoon and was amazed to see the hard work put on by all the team of Subharti and the labor done for arranging this competition. That is also virtual. It is a very great achievement, and everyone who took part has much to be proud of. Everyone has played their role very well. I wish all of you a bright future and success in the career. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With this, on the behalf of Subharti Law College, I would like to thank all the participants, judges, and all the viewers for joining with us. Now, I request all the participants to join with us on 17th April for the result declaration at 10 a.m. sharp. Thank you so much.